Om Shri Sai Ram. We will begin today's proceedings with the traditional Vedic chanting. Thank you. Thank you.
गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम् यश्छन्दसां ऋषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽयमृता सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया शृणोतु अमृतस्य देवतारणो भूयासम् शरीरं मे विचर्षणम् जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवम् ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय मेधा देवी जुषमाना नागात् विश्वाची भद्रासु मनस्यमाना त्वया जुष्टानुदमाना दुरुक्तान् बृहद्वदेम विदते सुवीराः त्वया दुष्ट ऋषिर्भवति देवि त्वया ब्रह्मा गतश्रीरुतत्वया त्वया जुष्टश्चित्रं विन्दते वसुसानो जुषस्वद्रविणो न मेधे मेधाम इन्द्रो ददातु मेधां देवी सरस्वती मेधां मे अश्विना वुभावा दत्तां पुष्करस्रजाम् अप्सरासु च या मेधा गन्धर्वेषु च यन्मनः दैवी मेधा सरस्वती सामा मेधा सुरभिर्जुषतागुस्वाहा मेधा सुरभिर्विश्वरूपा हिरण्यवर्णा जगती जगम्या ओजस्वती पयसा पिन्दमाना सामा मेधा सुप्रतीकारुषन्ताम् मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि अग्निस्तेजो ददातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि इन्द्रियं ददातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजा मयि सूर्यो भ्राजो ददातु हंसाय विद्महे परमहंसाय धीमहि तन्नो हंस प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
I now invite the following dignitaries to kindly come forward and light the ceremonial lamp. Managing Trustee of Sri Sathya Central Trust, Sri R.J. Ratnakar Sir, Vice Chancellor Sir, C.N. Ram Sir, Sri Batwal Sir, and Sri Vinay Sir. I welcome you all to the 37th MBA Day celebrations. The MBA program at Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning was started by Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, the founder chancellor of this university, on this very day on 21st of August 1986. We will start today's proceedings with a welcome address by Dr. Sai Manohar, Head of the Department of Commerce, Management and Commerce, Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. Dr. Sai Manohar is an alumnus of Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. He graduated with MCom in the year 1993. After a successful career in both academia and industry, Sir joined SSSIHL as a faculty member in 2012. I now invite Dr. Sai Manohar to deliver the welcome address.
Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Mother Sai. Respected elders, dignitaries, CEOs, alumni brothers, faculty and staff members, and my dear students, Sai Ram. During the year 1986, Bhagavan Baba graciously commenced this MBA program, and it has been growing from strength to strength during the last 36 years. With the passage of each year, we have scaled greater heights with his immense blessings. After blessing the MBA program, which he always used to refer as MMM, Master of Man Management, Bhagavan Baba revealed Mahavakya of leadership to Lieutenant General Chibber, to be, to do, to see, to tell. Keeping this in mind, today's deliberation is on stealth leadership, a model towards selfless leadership. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor, Sri R.J. Ratnakar Garu, Managing Trustee, Sri Sathya Central Trust. Your presence here at this event will not only inspire us but also urge us all to do better in life for the welfare of mankind, just as you have been doing. I welcome you, sir. I cherish the pleasure of inviting respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Sanjeevi, to this event. We welcome you, sir. I take pride in welcoming our Registrar, Professor B. Sai Giridhar. Hearty welcome, sir. I deem it honor to welcome our Controller of Examination, Sri Sanjay Sahani. Welcome, sir. I am especially honored to welcome our distinguished guest speakers, Sri Mayank Batwal, Chief Executive Officer, Aditya Birla Health Insurance. Welcome, sir. Sri Vinay Tonse, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, SBI Funds Management Private Limited, and Deputy Managing Director, State Bank of India. Welcome, sir. Sri Lakshmi Narayan Duraiswamy, Managing Director, Sundaram Home Finance. He will be joining in some time. Welcome, sirs. Also, I take this opportunity to welcome our alumni participants, Sri Ram Gopal, CEO Barclays Bank India. Welcome, sir. Sri Rangarajan Krishnan, CEO 5-Star Business Finance Limited. Sri Anand Nirgunam, Global Vice President Revenue Management and Growth, Zoho Corporations. Sri Bharat Sundaram, Vice President Everest Group, and Sri Jitendra Punjabi, Chief Executive Officer, EM Invesco Capital Advisors. Welcome, sir. We are all eager to hear from our delegates about their ideas, innovations in leadership. I also take pleasure in welcoming our Director, Dr. Raghavendra Raju. Welcome, sir. It's my pleasure to extend cheerful welcome to Sri C. N. Ram, co-founder, Fine DNA, who extending his unstinting support for this event. Welcome, sir. I welcome our faculty and staff members for this event. Last but not the least, I welcome our future leaders who are ready to grab every opportunity the world is going to offer and excel in their life. Welcome, my dear students. At the end of this event, you all will have to take home ideas, innovations, and inspirations. I end my address with a quote: every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Thank you very much. Sai Ram.
Thank you, sir, for your welcome address. We will now be having the inaugural address by Professor B. Sai Giridhar, Registrar of Sri Sathya Institute of Higher Learning. Sai Giridhar, sir, enrolled as a student of the first batch of the integrated MCOM program at SSSIHL in 1982. In 1986, he was awarded the Sri Sathya Sai All-Round Gold Medal. He completed his MCOM in 1987 at the Institute, and subsequently in 1993, he was awarded his PhD in the area of multi-echelon distribution inventory systems. Sir joined the Department of Management and Commerce as a faculty member in 1992, and he has served in various administrative roles in the Institute, from Deputy Director of the campus, Prasanthi Nilayam campus from 2014 to 15, and in the year 2018, Sir was appointed as the 5th Registrar of the University. I now invite Professor B. Sai Giridhar to deliver the inaugural address.
Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my most loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Respected Managing Trustee, Shri R.J. Ratnakar, Vice Chancellor of our Institute, Shri Sanjeevi, Professor Sanjeevi, all the invited speakers, faculty members, and dear students. Stealth leadership. What is stealth in it? What is leadership in it? I'm reminded of an incident which we can narrate, or all of us would have heard from the Mahabharata. In the Kurukshetra, there was a time when Arjuna did not want to fight. And Lord Krishna told him why he needs to fight. The war went on. Pandavas were victorious. At the end of the war, when they returned back home, Arjuna told that I am the person who has won the war, so Krishna should get down first. Now this is where stealth leadership comes. The Lord does everything, but gives all the credit to Arjuna. And Arjuna feels, yes, he has done everything. So that is why he said, as a charioteer, you have to get down first. After that, I need to get down. This is what a leadership which believes in stealth does. That it makes all the participants in the team feel that they have decided, they have contributed, they have made the change possible. But we know what happened finally. Lord Krishna insisted that Arjuna should get down. He got down, and as soon as Lord Krishna got down, what happened to the chariot? It went up in flames. So which means till then the Lord had suppressed all the effects of the astras which were fired at the chariot or at Arjuna. So this is what, I'm not talking of the second part of it, I'm talking of the first part of it. That's where it's very critical that we think in terms of what as leaders we should do. Each person comes with his own leadership style. Someone is an authoritarian. Someone believes in democratic way of functioning. Someone says, let us participate. Let us all think in terms of joining together and taking the decision together. When we talk of stealth leadership, it moves one step ahead. What is that one step ahead? It says, you take the decision. But as a leader, can we say that, okay, you take the decision, I'm not bothered about it? It is not possible. Why? Because for a leader, two things are very important. That is organization, its achievement, and also its people. Without its people, an organization can't achieve much. You may have all the resources, you may have all the machinery, you have the edge of technology, leading edge of technology, but still, if people commitment is not there, then what happens? We can get stuck. The productivity is not there, morale is not there, you're constantly finding faults and you want to say that, no, if you take care of this fault, you will be able to do better. What is going to happen? We can look at a tumbler half full or half empty. The leader's job is to ensure that we recognize what is good in people. We encourage them in terms of, this is your capability. Come on, scale it up a little more. If we start concentrating on the tumbler half empty, what is going to happen? People will think, okay, this is the problem. So instead of filling them with confidence, we are filling them with what? Lack of confidence. Why? They start disbelieving themselves. They feel that they are not capable. They will not be able to achieve. So that's why the leadership style which we are talking of when we talk in terms of stealth is moving from I to you. Bhagavan always says it should be we. When we talk of stealth, it moves on to you. You are the center of the decision-making process. And we say that this is an indirect approach and not a direct approach. Why do we say it is an indirect approach and not a direct approach? Basically because we talk in terms of asking very powerful questions. If you want to get your people involved in what you are trying to do, then in that case you must make them think. You must make them realize what are the areas that they have got to focus on. So when you ask questions, what happens? Of course, there is a downside to it also. That is, people may think that this person doesn't know anything. So he is depending on everything, even though he knows the things, but he is saying that, okay, you come with an idea, you come with a solution, and then he gives you credit. So you ask questions which are relevant. So you ask them to come out with a model of how do we tackle a particular problem. Let us assume, for example, you're thinking in terms of introducing internship for the management course. And now that calls for that a few weeks you'll have to be in the company or you'll have to do it online. But that calls for a sacrifice of number of working days which you have in terms of classroom interaction. Now you're asked to discuss about it and come back. Maybe the department feels that you have to come at 7 o'clock in the morning and go back at 4:35. The department can say that this is what is going to be done. Or maybe it can guide you to take a decision in terms of how do we address this issue. So if you are involved in the process, if we ask you to come at 7 o'clock in the morning, what happens? All of you all will be very happy, isn't it? You will be willingly participating in this activity saying that 7 o'clock is fine for me. So immediately you'll start saying, okay, what happens to my games? I'm supposed to go and do yogasanas. What happens to that? I use this period for taking care of my personal interests. I play veena or I do vocal. Do I have time for practicing that? So evaluations will start on a personal front. So when two people meet, what happens? I will discuss with that second person and say, this is the problem. Why 7 o'clock? Can we extend it some other period? Or can we do something else? Can we come on a Sunday? Can we have one more hour in the evening? So this is the discussion which can happen between students. If suppose the discussion goes on or you want to change the syllabus, or bring about a change in structure. This is where we ask all these powerful questions. How do we do it? How can we go ahead with it? Because this is something because ultimately what is the institute thinking of? How are the students going to be equipped with skills which will take care of both their life and living? That's what has been the aim and goal of Bhagavan. Bhagavan said, take care of both life and living. That which takes care of the worldly, Bhagavan always compares it to a coconut tree and a shadow coconut tree. Coconut tree, what is coconut tree? That is real life. The shadow coconut tree is the world. So when you take care of life, Swami says that you take care of the world also. Why? Stability comes in, the concentration comes in, contemplation will ensure what? Equanimity in the way that you're going to look at things. And when you're in sync with nature, you find that you will have a lot more ideas to deal with rather than searching or scrambling for ideas. So you find if you want to implement a major change, you go in for stealth leadership, it will result in less resistance. Now, you may ask a question, are you trying to be manipulative? Because that question can always come, this is what you want. So you're engineering it in such a way that you agree to what I want. Is it manipulation? It will be manipulation if my self-interest is involved. I want you to gear around or veer around something which I want to do, which is personally better for me. Then that will amount to manipulation. But if I've got organization interest in mind, which should always be the case. Why we in management, we study that individual goals should be subordinate to organizational goals. So if I've got organizational good in mind, then it is not manipulation. Why? Because when the organization does well, we are also ensuring that the people who are working in the organization do well. So that's why it's very important that we think in terms of how do we bring in people with the thought concept or the process which we are thinking of. In this, the leader always stays in the background. He doesn't come to the forefront. In a battlefield, it should be different. Why? The leader will be up in front, and of course, today the strategies have changed. That's a different thing altogether. But leading, strategizing, everything will be done with a team which is there. So this is where we are in this process of stealth leadership. We are empowering people. What did Lord Krishna do to Arjuna? He empowered him. He empowered him to an extent that he felt the war was won because of him. So tomorrow I said there's a downside to it wherein people may feel, actually if we were not there, this leader would have been very unsuccessful. It doesn't matter. For us, what should be important is the goal of the organization. Are we able to reach that? Are we able to meet that? So if we can meet that, and it's a good means through which you are trying to meet, then it should not be a problem. Why? Because this leader is willing to share knowledge. He shares it very subtly. So when they come out with the solution, he asks one more question. What about this constraint? Now when you ask, what about this constraint, what happens? What has the leader done? Has he shared his knowledge here? He has shared his knowledge. Some people feel that knowledge is power. It should not be shared with anyone. Why? Because tomorrow there will be a competitor for me. If in organization we think in terms of knowledge is power, it should be concentrated only with me, it should not be shared with anyone, then we will end up with what? People will hesitate to come up to you and speak to you, share their actual thoughts. They will say, yes sir, it's a fantastic idea. Heart of hearts, they don't believe in it. Do we want such an organization where people come up to you and say, fantastic sir, just you turn around, you'll say, what sort of idea is this? We are sure 100% it will fail. This is not the type of organization which we need to create. We need to connect with them. We need to ensure that there's a rapport or a relationship with them which ensures that the organization proceeds well. The leader is not interested in credit at all. In Gita, Lord Krishna says, you do your action, leave the credit to Lord. He will take care of it. But what is your duty? To carry out the action. Do that. When you do that, what happens subsequently is up to the God. In TQM, you have this concept of managing by walking around. What happens when you walk around? Why should a leader walk around? Why should a leader mix up with people? Because that is when he will get connected to the hard realities of life. If you don't connect, when you go down and you say once in a blue moon, if you go down to an organization shop floor and say, how are you? So all fine, sir. But a few more times in the year, if you do that, then he'll say, sir, if we take care of this issue, then we'll be able to increase our productivity. So it's very important that we are connected with the ground level so that we can perform. This is what? This is ways by which we are going to create. That is where you can show you are compassionate. You can say that you are understanding, you are concerned, and you're building what is very critical, trust. Trust takes years to build. Trust takes years to build, but it takes a second to destroy. One word of yours, one act of yours is good enough to destroy trust. So this is where, if we go back in terms of our life, we find we had our God Lord who is, and who is always guiding us. Bhagwan believed in stealth leadership. He did not call it that way, but you found that everywhere he gave his students, the devotees, he always gave that thought to them. If you suggested something, he will say something else which will make you think whether that should be considered. Then you will modify on that, and in brainstorming we say hitchhiking is always good. And that's what we do. So that's where we have grown, and we stand and we have got benefited with this wonderful divine grace and blessings. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share a few thoughts of what we have learned on the way in this journey of ours. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Sai Ram.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful, inspirational thoughts on the various aspects of stealth leadership. I now take this opportunity to invite all of you who have come here for this MBA Day program, and also the Anantapur sisters who have joined us virtually. Next, we will be having the keynote address by Professor Dr. C.B. Sanjeevi, Vice Chancellor of Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. Dr. Sanjeevi has been at the Karolinska Institute, a medical university in Stockholm, Sweden, since 1989. Karolinska Institute is known for selecting and awarding Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine, and the institute was established in 1810. He heads the Diabetes Immunology Research Group at the Center for Molecular Medicine and is affiliated to the Department of Medicine. His group's research focus is on autoimmune diabetes. Sir has been the recipient of several awards, most notable being the prestigious Pravasi Bharatiya Saman Award from the Government of India for eminence in one's field or outstanding work in the area of medicine, which has enhanced India's prestige in the country of residence. Sir received the award on 9th January 2017 from the President of India. It is the highest honor conferred on persons of Indian origin by the Government of India. Sir also serves on the editorial boards of numerous prestigious journals and also is a visiting faculty member at various reputed universities across the world. Sir assumed charge as the 11th Vice Chancellor of Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning on 23rd November 2019. I now invite Professor Dr. C.B. Sanjeevi to deliver the keynote address. Thank you.
Sai Ram, everybody. Respected Managing Trustee, Sri Ratnakar Garu, Registrar, Sai Giridhar, Controller of Exam, Sanjay Sani, my dear faculty, visiting experts who have come to give lectures and interact with the students, my dear students, both here and Anantapur campus. It's an honor for me to come and talk in front of distinguished speakers who are all going to talk after me. I feel very small because this is not my area. But let me do my best. My prayerful salutations to Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, the founder chancellor of Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. The MBA program was started by him in August 1986 at Prasanthi Nilayam campus. The MBA students who had great interaction with Swami, which is a lifetime achievement for them. The true leader for all of us is Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. If you want an example of stealth leadership, we have Bhagavan for us to emulate. So when we talk about stealth leadership, a model towards selfless leadership, we get lots of thoughts and ideas. When we think of world stealth, we immediately think of stealth aircraft. That's what comes to your mind. They are sleek, elegant in their design and in their action. And they quietly go about doing their business. That's what we expect for stealth leaders also to do. To be a stealth leader is not about spying on our people, but quietly, elegantly being there where they need to be, offering support and providing the right kind of leadership when it is needed. It's not about being seen themselves, but it's about collecting followers and persuading people to agree with them, and definitely not about being the center of attention. These are not the qualities of stealth leader. It's about being aware, consciously lifting people to being the best they can be. It's about creating an atmosphere of cooperation and communication. It's about holding space where each person can shine as an individual while working together as a team to bring out the best and highest future potential in them. Stealth leadership is the essence of being conscious and graceful leader. If you look very carefully, you may find stealth leaders amongst us today. They aren't always the official leader, but the ones who work tirelessly for the betterment of everybody. I understand that as a leader, one must play most important role is to help others to find their strength and give them opportunity to explore and develop them. A true leader never delays. A true leader never feels boredom in life. Sweeter are those who is a leader of national character. The aim of being stealth leader is to move into leading from behind as much as possible, but to act as a mentor. The idea of stealth leader is the person whom you want to encourage will always feel that there is somebody there to support them in case there is a need for help. You have given your team all the tools, you have ensured that they know what to do and that they have the skills necessary. That's very important. Identify the skills in others. Now it's time to let them run with it. The greatest value will come from your people when you can hold yourself back and give them the opportunity to create the new ideas, explore, but also make mistakes so that they can learn from it. And ultimately, the solutions will all fall in place. Each person in your team might have a different perspective, not that they are wrong, but they look at it from a different angle. And they have different set of skills. So it's very important to navigate that and use all those skill sets. No one person is better than the other. They're just different. The greatest leaders of all time are always those who recognize their own limitations and see that when they work with others, the limitations disappear. Working with others completes the picture and opens up to infinite possibilities of where one idea can go. Stealth leader has the ability to step back and allow others to shine. This is a very important quality. To allow them to find the solutions, to gather the information and make the conclusion is all important here. Your job is to hold the space, create an environment where people can come together, have a sense of belonging and safety that empowers them to unleash their most creative genius and make a unified vision a reality. It's not about feeding them new ideas or giving them the direction. It's about asking the questions that expands their thinking and moves them from good to great. It's helping each one of their team explore and develop their own personal ultimate impact that they can focus on the ultimate impact of the business. If you listen to the words of Lao Tzu, the leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say we did it ourselves. So no one person takes the credit. So we need to take our responsibility as a leader seriously, not from a place of privilege, but from a place of service. This is where Swami's teachings becomes very important. Those who do have the business that really flourish and have the people who have the most passion and motivation, whether a team, a business or an organization, it will reach beyond what we all dreamt of as possible and unleash the ultimate impact. So I had looked through some books on stealth leadership. Of course, Google was very helpful. But I realized what is critical here is one needs to have commitment, completeness, competence, communication skills, workplace in a community. The community is important, catalyst, and collaboration. So these 7 stars are the focus in a new book, in a book on stealth leadership, and will provide a lot of guiding light to the students on what stealth leadership is all about. There are certain adage that you will called by many as chosen or few is the adage. In this university, many are admitted to various degrees. MBA students took proximity to Bhagavan. Bhagavan basically wants the students to manage and lead. And Bhagavan had always felt that the MBA students is a star in the SSSIHL. Bhagavan in several discourses, especially to MBA students, explained how to be an ideal student and to become an ideal leader in the society. The book Man Management, which many of you will be familiar, is like a Bhagavad Gita for the MBA students. It contains everything to be an ideal manager and an ideal leader. So this is something that the students should try, read and understand. The founder chancellor gave true university education and stated the following in his inaugural discourse of the university in 1981, which Mr. Vijay Sarthi in my office converted into a poem, which I'll read it for you. That which instructs discipline as medium, that which breathes character as the learning, that which educates values as syrup, that which proves virtue consistent with times. So being love as the first language, being service to mankind as the second language, being practice of penance as the third language is what Swami had enunciated for us to follow. That education which helps to know the inner self, that university is the true university in the world, that's the kingdom of God. That's right. The Sathya Institute of Higher Learning, created by our Bhagavan, is the true university in the world, created none other than Lord Ishvara himself. So we have a gallery of experts who are here to talk about what this is all going to be. So I have given my perspective. I have shared some of the thoughts that Bhagavan had shared for the students. I have quoted some of them. And I thank the organizers for the opportunity for me to come and give a talk. Thank you very much. Sai Ram.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. We are indeed fortunate to be addressed next by the guest of honor, Sri R.J. Ratnakar Garu, Managing Trustee, Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, and member, Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, Public Charitable Trust. Ratnakar sir is the illustrious son of Swami's younger brother, Sri R.V. Janakiramaya Garu, who is a member of Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, did yeoman service to humanity by actively taking part in the service projects initiated by Bhagavan. Right from his birth, Ratnakar sir grew up under the loving care and divine guidance of Bhagavan. We may even say Bhagavan molded him at a young age and prepared him to take up higher responsibilities in the divine mission. Sir graduated from SSSIHL with an MBA in 1991. He was awarded the All-Rounder Gold Medal in the year 1990 from Divine Hands. As instructed by Bhagavan, Sir spent about a decade in corporate world understanding the various aspects and workings of an institution. In the year 2003, Sir relocated to Puttaparthi as directed by Bhagavan and has been actively associating himself with spiritual and service activities of Prasanthi Nilayam. As the first assignment, Bhagavan appointed Sir as the chairman of Srimati Ishwaramma High School, Puttaparthi. Later, in March 2010, Bhagavan blessed Sir to be the trustee of Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust. Currently, Sir also serves as a trustee of Sri Sathya Sai Sadhana Trust and Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning Public Charitable Trust. From January 2020, Ratnakar Sir has been designated as the managing trustee of Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust. Ratnakar Sir has been very closely associated with the Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organizations India and its multi-dimensional service activities in Prasanthi Nilayam and also across the world. I am sure we will all immensely benefit from Sir's words of wisdom and also the years of wonderful interactions that Sir had with Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. I now welcome the guest of honor, Sri R.J. Ratnakar Garu. Sai Ram.
I offer my most humble and prayerful salutations at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Master, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Respected Vice Chancellor Sir, the guest speakers, the dignitaries, and my very dear brothers who are present here and virtually joined by sisters from Anantapur. Very loving Sai Ram to each one of you here. I was in MBA in 1989 and 91 batch, and very happy to meet my classmate here today, Jitendra Punjabi. He also here is going to interact with you in the afternoon. Almost now 30 years back, we passed out of this institute portals. We thought we have done with our college and assignments again. Today, after 30 years, sir, when I got an invite from the institute and the topic was stealth leadership, I did not understand anything of it. I've been asking everybody what is this means, and I think you made me do homework once again after a long time. And to put cold water on our enthusiasm, when I entered, Vice Chancellor sir said, everybody is Googling. So did I. So what is stealth leadership? Everybody is Googling and said, well, that is what we are going to do it. I said, if you are Googled, then I can depend on you. You are going first to speak. So I took Google, sir, in the morning. I said, then Oxford Dictionary says it is defined as cautious and surreptitious acts or movements is called what stealth is mean. I folded it and said, no, it's not for me. We don't know about anything about this cautious and surreptitious acts. So, anyhow, sir, whatever we have learned from here, whole day, I think everybody will be dealing with stealth and stealth and stealth. So I don't want to again load you with all that. But whatever we learned here, see, there are various jargon is used and various modes of leadership models are being talked and books are written. But what I learned, I also was like you, maybe not as rigorous as you, but 30 years back we went through the MBA curriculum, but today I think a lot more things have stuffed into it. But we were more relaxed and it was also evolving those days, but the practical life is different from whatever theory which you learn from here. Because every Monday is not same, that you must always realize. Every Monday cannot be same. You cannot say, I will do this all on Monday. I will do this on Wednesday like this. I will my afternoon 2 to 4 I will spend on this day like this, because they are never same. You cannot, your morning 10 to 11 is not same as on Monday to Tuesday, because there are every day there are various issues, various challenges which crops up. What I have learned last maybe 25, 30 years being in different various organizations and more so in Swami's organization, what we realize is never a day is same. And it's so exciting. It's actually beautiful. One should enjoy it. If you anticipate every day to be same, then it will be boring. It will not be any excitement. Especially for us, we are not into a profit-making businesses. We are not into any goals which we have to meet, but we are into a self-transformation kind of a setup, a charitable institution. When you are heading a charitable institution, how much good you can reach out, how much good you can do, how much people get benefited, how many people will be happy going through this system. That is what we are always thinking. So fortunately we don't have targets or not. We have any balance sheet problems and year-end issues. But I did little homework, and I thought, because our young brothers are MBA brothers, I said, just not talking about any spiritual and things, but I thought I have an habit of jotting down many inspiring things and good things which I hear. I think all of you should do that because it helps you a lot. This morning I realized it whenever, maybe 10 years back, 15 years back, 5 years back, if I heard something, I just make a note of it so that it will be helpful to us. So I just flipped through my notes and I found something very interesting things which I thought I should share with you. It's like that today when I was just flipping, I saw what I had written about 2010 when iPad was introduced. When iPod was introduced, everybody was very excited. Steve Jobs came onto the stage and, it is a big launch, very big launch, and it's sort of much better than your laptops and your desktops and your mobile phones, and the experience was to be very, very different. That's what on that day the narrative was, and it's a beautiful thing. So it's all done, and iPad came in and all of us are having it. After a few months, one of the journalist was casually talking to Steve Jobs, and he asked him about iPad and the idea behind it and how it's working and how people are receiving it and everything. Then he said, your kids must be enjoying it. That's what the journalist told Steve Jobs. He said, no, they haven't used it. It's a shocker to the journalist who was asking him. He said, no, my kids have not even touched it. He said, why? How come they have not seen? He said, no, we limit the usage of technology at home. Steve Jobs says we limit the use of technology at home. We don't give to our kids. That's not for them. I think he was doing a very stealth operation. He was conveying something to a larger good for somebody, and really that's why he is respected as a great leader in technology. He felt it is not maybe not very good idea for all the children to be on the always, because they will be robbed of their beautiful playing time. They'll be robbed of their interaction with their parents. So when you read or you learn from these are the things how they convey things. They convey these beautiful messages even at their own. He was the one who was launching this, but he never relented. He never hesitated to say this, because people who can read this, why he is not allowing. But he wanted to convey a message. We have seen this kind of beautiful episodes. I was seeing through one interviews of one CEO who makes this pet foods. Pet foods like dog foods and other pet foods. So one of his AGMs, this CEO goes into, big crowd is there, and what he does is they're launching dog food, and what he does first thing is he opens the packet and he eats it. And people were literally shocked, and afterwards they asked him, why did you do this? He said, no, if I can eat, the pet can be safely take this. That's why I wanted to demonstrate this. There are guys who are eating dog food, but there are people who wants to limit the technology usage at home. One of the top leaders. Various kinds of modes of people, what they want to convey, what they want to talk, what they want to do. You will see many, many ways of doing things. And one of the things which I jotted down is, I'm just telling you from my notes, whatever I have. There's a beautiful a particular way of doing in Daimler. Daimler, they have, it seems, if somebody goes on a holiday, they get mails, right? And during even holidays, clients will be coming and people will be writing mails. Do you know what they do in Daimler? At least I don't know. In those days, there used to be a practice. What they say is, the concerned person is on vacation, your mail is deleted. That is what they say. Your mail is deleted. They don't bother and don't say, client, can we do something? What are we, can you say is so and so, you come after 1 week. They say, we don't want to burden our people. The guy should have full vacation. We say vacation and keep on sending him all these messages. What are you? What kind of an organization are you? What kind of pressure you are building upon those people? So they say, your mail is being deleted. If you like to contact him, you contact after a week or 2 weeks. That is what the message reads. Otherwise, if you find somebody else, you find somebody else. So there are various people, various kinds of leadership styles which people adopt. There's one company called Next Jump. Maybe if you again see anywhere, I do not know if it's still around, but Next Jump is a company name. When somebody gets employed, he is employed for life. Can you beat this? There is no firing policy in the organization. It's called Next Jump by one Charlie Kim. He's a CEO. He has started this company some time back. I do not know it's still around, maybe. But this is the very core of that organization's principle was that we will not, once you are employed by them, you are employed for lifetime. You are never fired. What happens if there are performance issues? So they say, we will give them coaching. Those people who are not performing, we will pick them up and give them coaching. So somebody asked him, why do you do this? He says, see, every investment may not make profit for you, but definitely it will make you rich. That is what he was reacting. So in your lifetime, when you are going out into after management, you are managers. When we go into different worlds and different parts of world, and maybe you're in industry, in various industries which you come, the practicality is completely different from whatever we talk and we hear, we chat and we give jargon. Many things can be told here, but when you are there on the field, it's completely a different ball game altogether. That is what is to be learned from all our young MBA boys from here, because we also learned everything and said, okay, this is all what management is, but it was not so. It was not so. So we need to keep learning from time to time. And most important for any leader, like you see, many people will only give orders, because in leadership you get, by virtue of a position, you get some authority, some kind of, you have powers. So they keep on saying things, you do that, you do this, or you did not do that, and you are the responsible. A leader should be a part of a solution rather than a part of a problem. So when a leader finds himself to be part of a solution, then the organization, what happens if they are part of and they try and interact with them and empathize with the people whom they are working, what happens? They feel safe, they feel secure, they feel very, very taken care. And when the leadership gives that kind of a feeling towards their staff, then what does it result in? It results in commitment. It results in cooperation. They will do it. Once they know that their leader is, he's trustworthy, he's safe to deal with, and he's a caring guy, definitely the result and the natural reaction from them will be cooperation and commitment. Once that we have, any organization can progress in a particular way. Because you are seeing every day, day in and out, the challenges are very high. Because it's easy. Now we see, last COVID time, we have seen institutions laying off. We see people are being fired, people are, because it's just not possible for organizations and institutions to carry on business if they don't shed they don't lay off people. But there are people who say, if you are at home, do you lay off your son or a daughter? There are people who talk like that. You don't lay off them. You don't lay off your family members because it's becoming difficult for you to run the family. So they say you should do it even in wherever, but it's easy to say than to execute these things. So how much where we can draw a line? So there are people who are coming, cutting across and speaking, saying, let not a group suffer lot. Let everybody suffer little so that everybody will float around. Everybody can be safe. Because if you target a group and say fire, they suffer the lot. A lot of suffering is put on them. Instead, everybody share that suffering, and so that everybody is safeguarded and everybody. That's why he says, never, the leader, a great leader, never sacrifices their people to protect themselves. Never they do that. They rather sacrifice themselves for protecting people. That is why we have seen, that's what we have seen in various our Puranas, Itihasas, or even there's this nice story about Jesus. You know, Jesus, there is a story of Jesus going on a boat and with his disciples and people with him. So there is suddenly a storm and there is a lot of turbulence in the sea. What happens? They say one of them needs to be offloaded, otherwise the whole ship, the boat will sink, everybody will be drowning. They say that person who has to be put out of the boat. So everybody looks at and points one guy and says, this is the man, you can do away with him. Jesus is in the boat, he is sitting there, and what does he do? Yes, definitely one extra person will drown the boat. Definitely the whole boat, everybody will be will get drowned. So what he does is, he says he allows them to put in the water, the gentleman. Then what he does is he takes his shawl or whatever, which was, he gives him so that he will hold it and he tugs him to the shore along with him. So he never sacrifices people. People use this kind of situations to save people, not to sort of destroy them or to inconvenience them. So this is a beautiful example where Jesus, though that man has to be put into the water and they take him out to save the boat and the people in it, they put him, but he says, okay, fine, he has been put, but let him be tucked to the red. Why should we leave him behind? That's why whenever we hear in United Nations, sometimes we get to talk to them or participate them. Their favorite phrase is last man, not to leave out the last person in the society. So never leave out anybody. That's what Swami did it. Any of these things which we see, like every debate, you don't need to defeat an opponent. See, Swami says you can win them over. You don't need to defeat a person, but you can win them over. Abraham Lincoln said at a place, are you not conquering your enemy if you make friends of them? Are you not? If once you made somebody a friend, you have conquered them. So there are various ways of looking at leadership qualities, leadership. So one should be most important for all of us is to be positive thinking. We should be able to think positive. Once you have a positive thinking, what do? Your talk will be positive. You will be able to talk positive. Once you have thinking and talking positively, you will also act positively. So most important for us in this current scenario is we need to be positive, because everywhere we hear, because a lot of inputs are negative inputs we get. You open your net, you go to your TV channels, you go to anywhere, lot of negativity, lot of debates which are not really matters to anybody in day-to-day life, and not matters to any one of us, not relevant to us at all. But there's so much of it, strife goes on, and we don't need to be bombarded with so much of unwanted material, but we are doing it. Because when I see other day, I was just reading, it's a very, 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 painful to know the data, how it is. There are, on the net, there is a data which says, which by seeing them, the people are some certain things, they're very happy. Like education portals, health portals, there yoga, they are very happy. And there are portals which makes them like, all websites, or you go to any news channels, or you go to any, there are list of them. They make you unhappy, I understand. But the irony is, if there are 10 people who are seeing happy things, 30 people who are seeing which makes you unhappy. Why are people wanting to see something makes you unhappy? Why? What is it? See, there is something which is happening in our mind. Why people want to see something unhappy? What makes you unhappy? I think all of you should go out and find a solution for this. It's quite baffling. So these kind of real life challenges which you face there, and you will have to come across some solutions, but the solution lies with you. Solution starts with you. We all think, we can create solutions for others. No. Many a time the problem is ourselves. We need to start creating solutions from ourselves. Then you will be able to create solutions for all around. And coming, having been at the lotus feet of Swami, I must speak something what I learned at his feet and how he relates to whatever your topic is today, stealth or stealth leadership. But I don't want to coin and say, put him into that kind of a group. But what we have watched, what we have seen, for example, with related to our university, Swami was, decided to build a indoor stadium. How many of you know that how many days it took for build indoor stadium? Do you know that? Your MBA students? Huh? Sorry? None of you have done that little homework. You should do little, sir. MBA students should do this because it's a typical wonderful case study for you. It took 126 days exactly. It's one of the largest indoor stadiums in the country. We have around 3,700 seating capacity, and it's built in 126 days. 126 days. And Sri APJ Kalam, President of India, inaugurated this. And I was there in that. I was there as one of the people around, and what we watched is Swami had fixed almost inauguration date, and we were working back. As usual, that is how all the projects of Swami took place were executed, because it always fixed the inauguration date or commencement date. Then all of you work back, whichever way, whichever you want. You want 10 people to work it out or 100 people to work it out. That's you have to work out what is the modalities. But a day is fixed for you. I think it's a great thing which all of us should learn. If you talk about, in fact, sir, the way Swami, because these children haven't had an opportunity to see Swami and interact. So it's like anything which we are relating from the book, but some of us who have been part, it's a great learning. See, what he would do, every day morning, he will come and ask them, what is the progress? How is it happening? He talks to everybody there, whoever is there in the waiting room. Then he goes out for darshan. Then he quietly takes a ride and comes to the site. He goes around and imagine every day, sometimes engineers say, sir, Swami comes every day. It's good for you. Sir, 20-30 minutes, all of them can go that side. You understand what people will think? They say, 20-30 minutes, all of them stop the work and go and see him, and they will, throw. What we find is, after all this, the way Swami conducted, even in the evening, he would ask the progress. Then he retires to the night. Then morning when he comes down, again he asks what is the progress, as if something would have done in the last night. That means a person, consistently pursuing something when he wants something to be done. See, it's something very unique style. He lives, he reads, he talks, only about that project. That's why you see enormous amount of projects have been achieved in Swami's avatarhood. It's humanly impossible to just build, And you have to create inspiration. It is all not commercial. It's not, you go to banks, you go to financial institutions to raise funds and give to consultants, and not like that. It is to be, it is a more of a charity. People have to get inspired to come and contribute, and you should, that credibility has to be built. And he did it project after project. And this project is to be what we, at the end of the project, they told us is that the productivity of the people, if they have 20 minutes, they have stopped the work and gone and seen Bhagavan, they don't mind working 2 hours in the evening, even after the working hours, because that they feel that Baba came, the Baba talked to them, Baba brought sweets for them. Every day you would go this and he'll just give, but nobody realized that what is happening, because they all felt that that particular inauguration date, they have to meet. Even the guy who was a mason, who was a stone cutter, the coolie, whoever was working there, everybody felt that we have to work so that Baba's word and Baba's will of doing on that particular day should be fulfilled. Imagine the positive reinforcement that happened during all that execution of that work. That is what he did. Every time he positively reinforced when there. People thought 20 minutes is work, but only a bit later they realized that those people are working, they are willing to work another 2 hours more. Imagine how beautifully he inculcated these things. So as and when we read about him, especially you have a great good fortune of coming into these portals of SSSIHL Institute of Higher Learning, please read also sometimes about various books on Swami's leadership programs. In fact, here he used to give MBA children, MBA students, various days, many a day, he used to give lectures from here, like, what your seminars having. Many of them, there are a lot of good records of them. There are printed material about them. Please, children should, all the students should read, and definitely it will be useful to you in some time in life where you face certain kind of a crisis or a challenge. Because he has given a very rooted kind of solutions for everything. Because everywhere problem starts with ourselves. In the sense, whoever is, it's human beings. Organization is not walls and computers and all that. It is the people who make the organization. It's the people whom you have to speak and whom you have to convey, whom you have to carry with you. So, whatever leadership style you may assume or you may call it, but just be a little empathetic to your fellow worker or fellow people. And we may not have a great policies like never fire an employee, but we do not know that many may work, may not work. But there are great guys who are, but they're all examples. But we need to walk towards that and take cues from there. And I'm sure by Swami's grace, you will be wonderful, great leaders in future to come. And I think our MBA program is wonderfully crafted, and definitely, see, now we have alumni, just reading, I'm also hearing them, vice presidents, CEOs from here, the people from this very portals. Sir, one more thing, whenever I come, I'm an alumni, like any one of you, I'm a part of this very much. Of course, they give, the position is different, but I'm one of you, one amongst you and part of you. And we will always be happy to share, and this journey is such a beautiful one. And 86, I remember when Swami started the MBA program, we were all there. I was in a degree. Then 89, when I got into, maybe I was his third batch or fourth batch max, 89, 91. And Swami had a lot of time to spend with the people, because Swami wanted that we go into industry, or various banks, or any financial institutions or governments, anywhere. Wherever outside institution, you should carry some of the values. This value-based leadership, they call ethical leadership, moral leadership, whatever you call them. See, it will be next 30 years, so many jargon will be added, so many things like how they have added stealth. Because morning when I saw stealth, I was little perplexed, because we know only stealth bombers, sir. When I see stealth bombing is, stealth bomber is a B-52 bomber is called stealth bomber. It misses, it escapes radars and sonars, and it goes and destroys others. That is what is stealth. So, but here it is not that way. Stealth is to empower people. It's more of a selfless, they said, but how far it is selfless, I am not sure. How much possible in this world to be selfless. Some self should be there, otherwise you won't be leader at all. If it is not, there is some self will be there. But fine, with all that you can always throb with your own people, and need not be always feel that everybody's problem is your problem, but there are solutions and there are ways of dealing with people. In fact, we faced recently also during COVID, we faced some difficulty. Being a charitable organization, we had a difficulty because of course, bottom lines are not dependent on your performances and works and your sales and all that. But here, devotees could not come for 2 years, and we were little worried about contributions and what happens, how do we take it forward. But in that time also, we had to take some decisions like, salary cut. So much discussion happened, how do we do that? And finally we said, okay, a lot of, the good thing about Sai institutions, a lot of people who were working came forward and said, some of them, in fact, I have all the letters where I see some of them and say 50%, we would like to give it back to trust. We don't want to take, there's not, everything is under lockdown situation. We are not coming to offices. Somebody said 30%, all that. But then when we are in the board, a lot of them are part of Sai organization. They all felt, no, we should not do all that. Just maybe as a token, we will say 10% we will retain with them. Because many children may not know, many of your people who work here, they do contribute again. They do write checks to Central Trust and they keep contributing. You don't find this kind of this breed, you don't find anywhere in the world. So they do contribute and they do that. So with a great difficulty for also the reason is that everybody, that was cuts are trending. Those days it was trending. So everybody has to do that. We didn't want to show we are macho and we are not affected. So we had then we restored it back in 9 months' time. We had some organization where we have to lay off people, or like, we have shopping areas and where books and book sales are there, shopping areas are there, where you have cafeterias, all that is there. So we don't have anybody here in the lockdown. So we have furlough, we did that, and we have to put them on bench, like, we have to, even for institutions like us, we have to undergo this kind of things. During COVID, COVID was a great leveler, and people realized a lot of things in that. But we have started taking back all of them, or sort of restoring them the moment and the people start coming. But very beautiful thing is, none of them came to me. Around 80, 90 people were forlorn. I was expecting at least 20, 30 group of them will come and see me. But believe me, none of them came. They understood that, if things are going on, they will never ever do anything to us. And with assurance that the moment we resume, they will all be back on the board. So they were very comfortable about, a little bit, one or two needed some financial help, which we said, okay, we will do that. But generally people, that confidence, if once you have given that confidence to your people, believe me, that's what. Once you gain their trust, you gain their, they feel safe with you. Definitely their commitment levels will go up. Their cooperation will go up. So it's all about people, and children should learn. And I'm thankful to this beautiful conclave and conference which you organized. And I wish you all the very best, young children. And now we have very, very illustrious people who are going to address. And also we have alumni who are going to have less lunch and come back, so that you don't be little dense in the afternoon, so that you will participate. Okay? God bless you, and thank you very much. Sai Ram.
Thank you very much, sir, for not only letting us have a glimpse into your notebook, but also a glimpse into your book of life, which I'm sure we have all been very enriched by. And I'm sure all the students have learned something new that they will probably find useful when they go out and live their corporate lives. Thank you very much, sir. We will all now be blessed with the discourse of Bhagavan, wherein Swami speaks about who is a true manager. Sairam.
ప్రేమ స్వరూపులారా,
Who is manager in the true sense?
లీడర్ అంటే ఎవరు?
Who is the leader?
కేవలం ఒక వ్యక్తిగా సమాజం పోల్చుకొని ఒక వ్యక్తి లీడర్, ఒక వ్యక్తి మేనేజర్ అని భావిస్తున్నాడు.
We go on the basis of individual consideration, call him manager and the leader and so on.
బిజినెస్ ఏంటి? బిజినెస్ ఏంటి?
What is business?
మార్కెటింగ్ అంటే ఏంటి?
What is marketing?
ఈ బిజినెస్ కేవలం సంపూర్ణమైన చిన్న మార్కెట్ జరుగుతున్నదని భావిస్తున్నారు ఈనాటి విద్యార్థులు.
Students consider that business is a transaction that goes on in a market.
మార్కెట్ ఏంటి? మార్కెట్
What is market?
యావత్ ప్రపంచమే మార్కెట్.
The whole world is the market.
ఎక్కడ పోయినప్పటికీ మనం ఏదో ఒక విషయాన్ని, ఏదో ఒక వ్యక్తిని, ఏదో ఒక పదార్థాన్ని మనం అందుకోగలుగుతున్నాం.
You may go anywhere, you may be able to meet a person, receive an object or a material.
ఏదో ఒక పదార్థాన్ని నిర్మించుకొని అక్కడ మార్కెట్ బోర్డు వేయడం వల్ల అది మాత్రమే మార్కెట్ కాదు.
Market is not merely assembly of shops.
ప్రపంచమే మార్కెట్.
The whole world is the market.
మానవుడి మనసు మేనేజర్,
Human mind is the manager.
మానవుడి ఆస్తి లీడర్.
Human heart is the leader.
కనుకనే మేనేజర్ మనసు మనం పవిత్రమైన రీతిగా తీర్చిదిద్దుకోవాలి.
So we should shape the mind of the manager in a sacred way.
ఈ మనసు సరి అయినప్పుడే ప్రపంచంలో సమస్త పదార్థాలను సులభంగా పొందడానికి వీలు.
When the mind operates in the proper sense, you can acquire all worldly objects.
మనసుకు మించినటువంటి జగత్తులో మనకు
In this world, there is nothing much more than the mind.
మనిషి మరణించిన మనసు బ్రతికే ఉన్నాడు.
Man may die, but mind persists.
కనుక అది నిరంతరం ఉండినటువంటి యొక్క మనస్తత్వాన్ని ఈనాడు మనం గుర్తించుకుంటానికి ప్రయత్నించారు.
We are not making an attempt to understand this persistent mind and lust.
ఈ మనసును సక్రమమైన మార్గంలో ప్రవేశపెట్టారు.
We should allow the mind to tread on the proper path.
లౌకికమైన, భౌతికమైన, అంతికమైన, అశాస్త్రమైన, ప్రాప్తమైన విషయాలను దీన్ని ప్రవేశపెట్టారు.
We should not allow mind to proceed in the worldly, physical, fleeting, momentary world.
ఈ మనసు ద్వారా అందుకున్నటువంటి ఈ ప్రాప్తమైన విషయాలు
What also requires the good object to the head of the mind, they are
ఈ
momentary.
మనసు ఏమైనా
All the mind goes to the point of possession, they last for a moment only.
కానీ మానవుని మనసు ప్రశాంతం చేయగా శాశ్వతమైన, సత్యమైన, నిత్యమైన యొక్క తత్వాన్ని మనం ఈ యొక్క మనసు ద్వారా పొందాలి.
In fact, having been gifted this whole mind, we should be able to attain the divinity, which is eternal, permanent truth.
అట్టి మనసు కలిగినటువంటి రియల్ మేనేజర్.
The one with such a lofty mind is a real manager.
ఇందులో సహనము, సానుభూతి, సత్యము, ధర్మము, ప్రేమ ఇత్యాది పవిత్రమైన గుణములు ఇందులో ఇమిడి ఉంటాయి.
There lies the values like compassion, the tolerance, sympathy, truth, love, and sacred poverty.
ఉత్తమమైన మనసు లేకుండా ఎంత పెద్ద మేనేజర్ ఉన్నప్పటికీ ఆ కాలం మేనేజరే కానీ ఆచరణ మేనేజర్ కాదు.
In fact, if you have no noble views and noble mind, even if you get a manager, they will
తాను మేనేజ్ చేయడం వల్ల అతను మేనేజర్ ఎదుర్కొంటున్నాడు.
as a manager, you are the one that is his command, he is for manager.
అంటే నిజమైన మేనేజరే కాదు.
It's not, it's no manager.
భౌతికమైన, భౌతికమైన, అనిత్యమైన, అశాస్త్రమైన చర్యలు చేసేటువంటి ఒక విషయం చేయటం.
After all, he is only a body that is temporary, that moves, that's momentary, which is physical and worldly.
మనసు సత్యమైనటువంటి మనసుగా, ధర్మమైనటువంటి మనసుగా, శాంతిపరమైన మనసుగా, ప్రేమమైనటువంటి మనసుగా తీర్చిదిద్దుతున్నటువంటి వాడే నిజమైన నేనేసి.
He is a true man in the sense of the term. He is both the values like truth, the righteousness, peace and love.
అట్టి మేనేజ్ ఎవరికి వారి అభివృద్ధి పరుచుకోవాలి.
Each one has to manage, he develops the managerial work.
Thank you everyone for your patient listening. We will now break for tea. Tea has been arranged for the dignitaries in the conference room and in the lawns for the students. We'll break for tea for 15 minutes and we'll assemble back here. Thank you. Sai Ram.
Check, check. Check, 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 check.
Om Shri Sairam. I hope you all had a refreshing tea and snacks. The next distinguished speaker for the day is Sri Mayank Batwal, CEO, Aditya Birla Health Insurance, and Sir will be speaking to us on the topic My Life Lessons in Leadership. Sri Mayank Batwal is the Chief Executive Officer at Aditya Birla Health Insurance Limited, a joint venture between Aditya Birla Group and MMI Holdings of South Africa. Sir has been with the Aditya Birla Group for 27 plus years and has leadership experience across insurance, financial services, manufacturing, energy and power. Sir was the founding team member and deputy CEO of Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance and has held multiple roles in the business in India and in Indonesia. Sir set up Aditya Birla Health Insurance in 2015, and under his leadership, within a short span of time, ABHI has grown into one of the recognized and fastest growing health insurance company in India. Sir is a fellow of Chartered Accountants and a member of ICWA and ICSI. He is the co-chair of FICCI Health Insurance Committee and is also actively involved with a number of industry forums such as Nat Health and CII. Sir is an avid reader, a fitness enthusiast, and passionate about every Indian having easy access to health insurance. I now invite Sri Mayank Batwal to address us all on the topic, My Life Lessons in Leadership.
Good afternoon and Sayom. It's always an honor to be here. I'm coming here after 7 years. So thank you for this invite to me, and thanks Ram for making this happen. Incidentally, sometimes they say that if you have to be here, it happens. So the first time I came here was with a senior colleague of mine, Bala Subramaniam, who heads our mutual fund business. Way back in 2015, and I was just about a few months back telling him that, Bala, you haven't taken me back to the institute for so long, you must do that. And just a few days after that, I get an email from Mr. Ram saying that, Mayank, would you like to come for this event? So that's how things have happen when they have to happen. To all the senior dignitaries from the institute, the senior colleagues from the industry, professors and faculty members from the institute, and also the students. For me, there are more than a few pleasures that I get when I visit this place, because of course the divine blessings of Swami, but also meeting some distinguished members from the academia and also students, because when I reflect back over these last 28, 29 years that I have been at work, they've, and I go back to my student days, there's so many people who actually have made things happen in my career. And it's an opportunity to kind of give back those learnings in my own little way. And if any one of you feels that they're relevant for you, it will be a complete honor for me. On this topic, stealth leadership, let me first profess, I am not an expert in stealth leadership. I think there are many distinguished faculty members here who will do significant more justice to this topic than what I can. I did my own Googling, as has been mentioned since the morning, and I realized that if I try, and in fact, I asked a couple of my colleagues, can you help me, put something together? And, and then I realized actually it will be complete waste, because I don't want to talk concept. I'm a practicing leader. I think I can do a lot more justice by sharing what I have learned as a practitioner in my own journey over the last 28 years. So, as was said, my topic is my, life lessons in leadership. And you'll see shades of stealth leadership in that. Because as I, walked through this journey, there were people who actually made those learnings happen. Some very explicitly, some implicitly from behind in making those learnings happen for me. So I'll try and kind of share my learnings in the context of my career, I have worked only with one place, the Aditya Birla Group. Joined them in 1994. I can just, yeah, sorry, here it is. Yeah. So, this is, I won't go through this, but this is just to give you a perspective of the last 28 years, what have I done? I joined them way back in 94 as a management trainee. You won't believe it, in a place called Jagdishpur near Lucknow, in the fertilizer business of the group, from Calcutta as a fresh chartered accountant. And fortunately, moving through the corporate ladder, soon going to Mumbai, and then working through various businesses, functions, locations. That's what I believe the group that I've been part of, the Birla Group, which we call a World of Opportunities, gives. And I'll try and cover my learnings through this journey as I move ahead. What I'm going to try and do is that I'll try and see if I can finish off a little early and leave if you have any questions. I leave the choice to you, because I feel that dialogues are always more kind of enjoyable than monologues as a speaker. That's my normal preference. So would love to hear, in fact, your feedback, thoughts, and not just questions. For me to take back away from this interaction. I've tried to stitch together this, and one of the underlying themes that I have realized over these 28 years and over these different life lessons, and what I've learned from some really wonderful leaders that I've had the opportunity to work with, both within the group and interactions outside of the group in various interactions, is this whole theme of possibilities. Today we live in an era, and I think all of you students, I must say, I think you must feel very, very fortunate to be living in these times, not just globally, but in the context of the country that we are part of, India, the fastest growing large economy in the world, and opportunities in abundance, in galore, as in whichever direction you look, whichever way you look. And still sometimes when people talk of challenges and people talk of constraints, I feel that I think we are missing the bus. And I think it's all about possibilities. And I'll, in many of the lessons that I'm going to talk to you about, you'll see this underlying theme of what can happen if you decide I will make it happen. And my first, even before I started my career, my first lesson in this whole theme of there's nothing called impossible, actually is I am possible, started a little before I started my corporate career. I used to be a good student. I don't know how good. And I was doing my chartered accountancy. And just one fine day before the final exam, a few months before the exams, my uncle, whom I used to, and still I respect him a lot, who has been one of my mentors, he comes and tells me, Mayank, I want you to be in the top 5 in India in the CA finals. And I said, I call him Chacha. I said, Chachi, what are you telling me? Are you really joking? He said, no, if you do that, I'll gift you a car. I don't know whether the first one was a motivator or the second was a motivator. I don't know what motivated me. But I felt that it's not possible. It's how can you ask me to be in India? There's some really bright students. So somewhere it left a question mark in my mind, and I just moved ahead. I started, the regular thing started. But I don't know, maybe somewhere in the back of the mind it stayed. Normally, in CA exams, you tend to kind of study for about 2.5, 3 months, because it's a very extensive exam. A lot more theoretical, and especially in those days, way back in 93, than MBA and all. MBA is supposed to be a lot more practical. You have exposures to many, practical aspects of what you do. The partner in my CA institute where I was doing articles, she said, go for an external audit, and you will get only 1 month leave. I said, oh my God. But I think that the whole thought that if someone has asked, what did that person look? Why did that person say that out of the blue? Stayed with me. The exam happened. I went to see the results, and I was shocked to my, but you can imagine the pleasure when I see against my name 5th rank in India. Now that was my first lesson in the whole thing of possibilities, that things can happen if your mind decides somewhere that I think I can make it possible. And I think that is a theme that has stayed through with me my entire corporate career after that. And I think I've been fortunate to have leaders who've always kind of brought this theme back again and again in very different ways. And and you'll see that theme as you move ahead. So one of my thing is that you're living in a time of abundance. I follow this writer very, very closely by the name of Peter Diamandis. He's supposed to be one of the most forward-looking technologists in globally. He started an university called Singularity University, and if you read his books, it talks about the whole. There's nothing called scarcity. There's no concept of scarcity in the time that we are living in, and it's all about abundance. If you really, technology is making things happen. Human endeavor is making it happen. Human spirit is making it happen in different ways. That's a topic in itself, so I leave that. As I got into the corporate world, my first job, I was immediately called to Mumbai to work with a very, very senior business leader. Jitendra would remember. And by the way, it's such a pleasure meeting you after so long. I'm meeting two very, very old friends today, Jitendra and Sai, after probably close to 20 years. That's another benefit of being back to this institute. And I was a 24-year-old fresh chartered accountant. He was mid-50s running multiple businesses. And one of the things that I learned again implicitly, explicitly from him was this whole thing about lifelong learning, and learning being a lifelong pursuit. All of you are graduating from your MBA days, but I think your real practical learning starts the day you come out of this institute and get into whichever field you adopt, whether it's corporate, your own stuff, and wherever you are institute. Because in the world that we are living in today, I think that things are changing so dramatically. Generations are changing in 5 years now. My two sons who are 5 years apart are two different generations. And things are changing just so rapidly. Now it can be very exciting, but it can be very, very intimidating as well if you're not prepared for it. And again, some more stuff on that later on. So, but from him I learned this about learning and learning with humility. Normally we feel we are senior, how the hell can I talk to someone, junior from me? And he was like more than double my age, and he would have no qualms in coming back and asking, Mayank, this new thing that is coming up, can you please come and sit and explain me this? So, when we were flying outside of Mumbai, he would, I remember flying to Vizag, there was no business class, so he would, there was only economy, we sit together, and he would tell the secretary, make sure the two of us are sitting next to each other. I would dread that. I would think that I'll maybe take a nap, and he would be busy with, his papers, and one of them will be something that he's asked me to give, and he would start. I have to get into that discussion with him. But what was important was the humility behind that conversation that was happening with him. The humility in being a learner. And, we talk about reverse mentoring today. I saw that in 94, 95. In the way, I don't know whether you would call it stealth leadership or not. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm going beyond the course. Sometime out of course, extracurricular is also good. So, but that is what I learned. And I think, again, that has stayed so very well, through and through, both aspects. Learning, but equally important, humility. You may be an expert in whatever. You may have, been very successful in whatever you do over whatever time that you've spent at work, career, business, personal life. But I think humility is something that has to be carried through. Because if you look at, anyone, and I was here listening to the stories of Swami, and didn't that come across so very well in the way he lived his own life, right? Being who he was and what. but how he interacted with everyone. I think that is something that stayed with me. That was again back in 95, 96, that era. Moving along, I kind of moved on. Towards 99, I joined the life insurance business. And I was working with, my boss then was someone from UK by the name of Peter Akers. And he was our appointed actuary. So I would know some of you, if you are, actuaries are supposed to be in our own world, we used to say, wherever the actuary is sitting, that's the place God sits. So, and he was a personality. I think he was the person who gave me the confidence of becoming what I have become today. And I remember he would tell me, Mike, I think I know that you can do your job. And I used to handle finance there. He was the CFO and appointed actuary. And I have complete confidence in you. I know that, even if there are a few things here and there, you will manage that. In my calendar, there is 30 minutes blocked on Wednesday. It is for you to decide whether you want those 30 minutes from me. If you don't want, tell my secretary that 30 minutes will be struck off. Otherwise, I'm available to you for those 30 minutes. And, it just, it was magical. You can't even imagine his level of, sitting from behind, giving that confidence to me, still as a young professional, in the new industry. And he says that you can do it, and I'm available. Don't worry, I'm available, but you keep doing your job. He knew in his own, by the way, he knew exactly what was happening. He had his ways of knowing when, if I needed help, and he would know, he would find his ways to kind of put a hand on the back, once in a while in the corridor but I mean, that is the way the person was, and that to me was stealth leadership in action. I didn't know that word was stealth leadership. I discovered that today, as I heard of many of you. Again, something which, and I worked with him for a few years, and I think that level of confidence, that level of pat on the back, his vote of think that, Mike, I think you can do it, is actually made me go a long way in my stint in the life insurance business, and how I progressed in my career from there on. I moved on towards about 2006. I got an opportunity. We were in a joint venture in a life insurance business with Sun Life. Is originally from Canada, but it has businesses outside of Canada, US, and Asia was a very large business from them. In fact, before life insurance business got nationalized and LIC was created, they had a very large setup in India. So they asked me to go and help them in doing a few things in Indonesia, Jakarta, as their CFO. And I went there. And that stint gave me my next life learning. It is a very different cultural environment. I remember my boss there was from US by the name of Barry Halpern, and the lady there, the HR lady, Bhati Subetke, I still remember. So both of them called me to the room and said, Mike, you've done we hear lots of good things about you from India, and that's why you're here. But we want to give you one kind of learning before you start your interactions. We hear that in India, there's this whole concept of multitasking. You can do multiple things. Here, if you try and do 2 things at the time, none of them will get done. Focus on one. And I just suddenly realized that it was what a difference in the way, life was in not just, in India and in Jakarta. If I don't adapt to this new style, I will not be accepted in a completely. And I had a short period of time in which I had a clear agenda to be fulfilled. Again, the whole concept of agile came now, much later, this whole thing. But it was not just adaptation to a new environment, and also culturally, what you see as the, social kind of interaction norms in India versus in a very different environment in Indonesia and all. again, all of you will see that in your career, in your life ahead, right? Because it's a global. We are all global citizens today. You will interact with so many people from different background, whatever you might be doing. And if you're not aware of how to interact with people from very different background, if you're not also able to kind of adapt to different changes that are happening all the time and at speed, unfortunately, time is not with us in many ways, because things are changing so fast. That was again a stint which and it was only, and again, he was always available for any conversation, and he would kind of, I remember in his first, few weeks, every week he would come down to my office, sit down, how are things going? Are you comfortable? Can I help you in any way? And that he was always that support system being provided, to make sure that, I'm coming in a different environment to work. Of course, the expectation was that I would contribute to whatever the agenda was. But the fact that I have to be ready to adapt to a very different environment, culturally, work-wise, different, though the industry was same, but a very different market, but with speed. Very important. And I think, again, someone at the back helping me in that whole process. Call it stealth leadership. I leave that to you. I came back to India after that, after a very interesting stint, which actually made me, as a human being, a person, much more richer in my, approach to dealing with people. I came back to India. I'm a finance professional, and those days I was deciding, what do I do? I mean, I can continue to be a finance professional. I remember so I was the CFO of the Indian life insurance business. The head of the business, was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Rajesh Srinivasan, who used to run business, and I used to have conversation with him, and he says, "Mike, what do you want to do?" I said, "Ajay, I'm not clear. Should I, continue to be a finance professional? But I do feel that having worked with a very senior business leader for a very long tenure in the past, I like the fact that as a general manager, you have this ability to kind of impact a much larger part of the organization. So I'm just wondering whether can I be a good general manager?" And, and those conversations are going through. He said, Mike, one option is that you can become the CFO at the financial services business level. And those conversations are going. One fine day, he and the CEO of the, insurance company called me to the room, and they said, "Mike, we would like to offer you a role of CFO and head of institutional sales." Normally this is a conflicting role, but this is about leadership, trust, and the willingness to take risk with a person, whatever confidence they had. And I said, "But how are you giving me this conflict? Firstly, I've never done sales. I'm extremely scared of doing sales. I'm very scared." And by the way, that was, 90% of the distribution channels and about 60% of sales. I said, "I don't know whether I can do. I mean, how are you so confident that?" He says, what worse will happen? Worst will, you will not like it. I can tell you, and I can guarantee, both of them said, you will not fail. The only thing that can happen is you may not like it. But you can always go back to finance. That call, we have that trust in you. And, I started doing sales after that. And it was magic, because I never realized that I would love sales as much as, I did when I started doing it. The point here is that we at time in life start, believing that we are good at this, we are good at that, we are an expert in whatever course we did. I find people who started with, finance, tax, this, they just kind of think that they are good at that only. And again, in a world which is so full of opportunities today, how do you know what else are you good at, or what else might be actually something that will really excite you and bring out the best in you? Because we tend, and at least in our days, now students have, you have more information, you have internet. In our days, there was no internet. So our parents will typically tell us, my father is a doctor, so, doctor, engineer, chartered accountant. and if you're very, very bright, an MBA. My father's a doctor. He said doctor is not an option. So I had options between the other three. I chose, CA, and I became a finance professional. Whether I can be good in something else, I never explored. So the question is, are you willing to explore yourself? And we hear a lot about this whole thing of failure, fear of failure. Are you really learning something out of it? But it's actually a fact. Because failures, the fact is, only make you richer in experience. Your perspective kind of, increases so much more than, of course, you need sometimes, someone at the back putting a, hand on your back and saying, don't worry, I'm there. That helps in that process. I was there. You call it stealth leadership, your call. And, I did that, and that, stint gave me that confidence that I think I can do general management. And I think I'll seriously encourage all of you that as you move ahead in your life, never stop exploring, please. And I'll repeat, you all are very lucky that you're living in times. When I see the kind of courses that are available today, MBA in sports management, you can do MBA in, cookery and, what all, I mean, you couldn't even imagine, even talking about some of that stuff when we were growing up. If you have ideas, capital is at galore. Yes, there will be cycles all the time. That's part of life. But, it's about ideas, not about money. And there are people to back you if you have ideas. Of course, you have to work hard and you have to make sure that you're, creating networks of influencers, etc., have mentors, etc. But I think very important, students, never stop learning and never stop exploring in your career as you move ahead. And never be scared of failure, because every failure actually is a huge learning that you can go back. In fact, I'm honestly telling you, one of the first questions I ask when I, hire interviews is, what was your biggest failure in life? And I think that answer gives you a huge perspective on what that individual, he or she, actually brings to the, organization. And because if you have not dared to dream, what have you done? And in exploring yourself. Again, it gave me a perspective, it gave me the confidence. I was given the role of deputy CEO of the life insurance business, and then I started kind of thinking, what next? And at that time, there was conversations going on that should we explore an opportunity in the health insurance business. And I raised my hand. I said, I want to be part of that initiative to explore that opportunity. I told Ajay said, are you sure you'll do that? You have a damn big job to do. I said, no, I'll find time to make that happen, because I think it's just a new learning for me. And, I did, we did that. The project was sanctioned by our chairman, Mr. Birla. And, what happened automatically was that when they were looking at someone who will head that, I became a natural choice, because I was someone who had raised his hand when the project was being, planned and, conceived, and, we were looking at what business opportunity, who would joint venture partners, etc., etc. Of course, the joint venture partners were also comfortable because I had interacted enough with them in those conversations. So, we went into the, health insurance business. And that's where and a lot of the learnings that I'd used in the past, I tried to apply. So health insurance business is typically a business which is, I feel, a very reactive business given the opportunity that it has. Health insurance business is all about, protecting consumers, financial, giving financial protection in the event of a health, catastrophe, etc., etc. And, when I remember me and my team were discussing that, we realized that we were going to be probably the 30th or 31st health insurance company in the country. One thought would be that how do you compete in that environment when there are much larger players who've been in business for 15, 20 years? And when we sitting down, and one thing that, was a clear expectation set by, our chairman was that if you can't be a material business, then you're not allowed to be in a business. So, the mandate was very clear. And we said that why do we need to do the same thing that the industry is doing? Why can't we just so we went out, interacted with the consumers, spoke to them, and we realized the consumers were saying, by the way, I don't know how many of you have, students probably not, but if you ask the consumer of a health insurance product, will you like to use me tomorrow? They'll say, stay away from me. Yeah, because I don't want to be in the hospital. That's the traditional product, right? Stay away from me. What kind of a business are you building when your consumer is telling you, stay away from me? And, it's a lifelong relationship that I'm building with the consumer in a health insurance business, because typically the need for health insurance goes up as the consumer ages. We said, why can't we completely remodel that? Because the category used to speak the language of insurance. We said, before insurance a word comes, why can't we speak the language of health? If I speak to you around health, you're willing to talk to me. So we completely changed the whole paradigm, and we said, we will talk to you about your health. If something happens, insurance is there. And that completely transformed the conversation that we were having with our consumers. So, for example, we incentivize consumers for good health. And that the relationship that, we started building with our consumers was very different. I was in Indore the other day, and there was a lady, she said, because you incentivize me for staying healthy, me and my husband both walk 10,000 steps a day, which is required, and I get to spend time with my husband every day. Now that's the kind of impact. So we said that we will leave and create an impact on our consumers through this, challenge the status quo, because we are living in a world of abundance. Just because things have been happening in a certain manner, you don't need to do that. Look at first the big opportunity. As leaders, one of our jobs is to make the opportunity be felt by the people whom we are working with. Make the opportunity be more vivid, be more clear, and move from just being there in theory and paper to actually make a very vivid image of what that can look like if you can imagine it, right? And I think that has been one of the reasons why, we have been fairly successful, which I don't want to talk too much about, and we feel very happy, not just in building a business, but leaving a social impact in terms of driving better health outcomes for our consumers. All of that is happening because, again, opportunities are galore. It's about your mindset. Do you want to explore it? And do you have the courage to try it? So what? You might fail. And by the way, let me tell you, we've gone through our own journeys. In the first year, people said, your model will never succeed in India. And, it was tough time, but if you're convinced, and again, I remember going back to, my boss, Ajay, was still the boss, and saying, it is tough. He says, Mayank, are you convinced your model is right? Stay on, stay put. I'm there behind you. Don't worry about it. I know that the ecosystem there will be naysayers, there will be people who will criticize, but it's your call. Are you convinced that you're doing the right thing? If you feel that you're doing the right thing, then I'm there with you. I am not going to take that call for you. And we would go back, we will discuss with our teams, colleagues, and there was a passion because we had answered that question of why do we exist as an organization, a purpose, which is to drive better health. And I think that helped us a lot in those days. So again, as you get into the real world, don't just accept status quo. Have the courage of conviction in what you believe in. And when I see today, as a health insurance player, I interact with many youngsters who are there in health tech, insure tech. It is so refreshing to see their conviction in their ideas. Of course, sometimes some of them don't work, but the conviction with which they talk, that itself makes your heart swell with pride that, we are seeing the kids today and youngsters, many of them are just out of, their institute 2 years, 3 years, and they're talking of such wonderful ideas, problems to solve, changes to make, differences to make in the environment around us. And I think that is what is an opportunity for all of us. And of course, it helps And good thing is that in institutes like yourself, you start building an alumni. You've got such wonderful senior people as members of alumni who are there, whom we can reach out to, seek mentorship, seek guidance, seek support. Not everywhere you get that, right? And I think make the most of that. Again, to my mind, self leadership in action in many ways. I have to say this because I believe very strongly in it. I don't know if this may not be relevant to the topic, and COVID time showed us very clearly. I personally believe this is a fact. And I say this to all you youngsters. I say this to my two young sons also. That when we are young, we believe nothing can go wrong. Our health is with us, and please, this is your biggest asset. Unfortunately, you may have read some stories recently about some very senior business people, who unfortunately, it was tragedy to my mind, because their health was not with them. So much more, we could have got so much more from them, if, at least in one case, health was given a little bit more importance than that was given, and maybe that realization came very late. But that individual, is a visionary, right? I mean, I wish, we could have had the presence of, I mean, I will just say his soul may rest in peace, but I'm talking of Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. What a visionary he was, right? And what he did to this country's financial market. But his health was not with him. So never ever take this for granted. Because in whatever journey, on your dreams, in your pursuits, this has to be with you all the time. And never ever, think that, no, it doesn't matter. And I'll look at it later on. I mean, some of us did that mistake, but at least we caught on with it a little later, but, at least now. I'll leave this. I'll just want to end by saying that, when we talk of selfless leadership, I think the journey starts with self-leadership. You can't get into a selfless unless first you have your own self-leadership. And finally, it's about you who has to kind of make the beginning. It's finally about whether you believe in yourself, whether you feel you can make it happen. In the times that you're living in, I think just have that conviction in yourself that whatever are your dreams, you can make it happen. Because there's, and the support system will always be there. Someone is always watching your back, someone is always there to help you, whether it's your parents, whether it's your friends and colleagues at network. In your case, so many friends and colleagues from the institute, the, senior members, alumni, etc. So believe in yourself, take charge of your dreams, take charge of your career, take charge of your life. Because, a lot of times at work, people will come and tell me, my manager did not send me for a learning program. I said, who suffered because of that? So he said, me. So I said, so then what do you think you should do? Of course, the manager should. But if it is your learning, how can you outsource your learning to your manager? If it is your career choices, how can you, outsource that to other people? Every time you are putting the blame on someone else, actually the sufferer is you yourself, not someone else. Because, it is you, you're doing injustice to you, your ability, your potential, your capability, the opportunity that you have in front of you. And yes, you must seek support, you must seek guidance. Worst case, you can take different actions. Maybe that's not the right place for you. But never ever put the kind of responsibility onus on someone else. And take charge. And and see the difference that it starts happening as you start taking charge. And make your dreams possible. But of course, before that, you must dream. So I'll end by saying, dream big. You're living in a world of opportunities, abundance, everything and anything can happen. So thank you once again for this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to talk to all of you. Thank you. if you have any questions, I'll be very happy. But I mean, more importantly, if you have any comments for me to take back, I'll be very happy.
Sairam sir.
Hi, Ram.
So after you have after you're made head of two departments of finance and sales, which were two complete different departments, and you said you have no knowledge about the sales. So how did you manage learning new things about the sales and as well as guiding your subordinates in the finance departments, which you have been part of it? Because there could be conflicts in meetings within the departments of finance and sales, and you are the head of the both, and you have to convince the people under you. So how did you manage that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Firstly, I think other than a few technical aspects, which you don't necessarily need to know always in whatever you're doing, everything else in life is common sense. We make it too complicated at times, very complicated, and even something as complicated as actuarial. My friend Sai was sitting here. We used to have some very interesting conversations with the actuarial colleagues that it's not as complex as it actually you tend to make it. So yeah, I mean, sales, it's more about these are two different very two different personalities normally, right? Finance and sales. So it's about observing. So first few months I was just observing. I was out in the market, interacting with the field, interacting with our partners, interacting with our people on the front line, just listening to their stories, listening to what they had to say. And I think then you start. And of course, as a CFO, I knew where the business was, what was happening. I mean, I had, and also having worked with the CEO, I did get an opportunity to be in the field, how sales work and all. But ultimately, it is very common sense. It is not difficult. A lot of times we, put lots of complex circles around everything. If you start peeling the onions, you'll start seeing it's very, very simple. On your point on CFO and institutional sales, yes, it was actually an issue because there was a conflict. I can't mandate that you have to do this just because I'm the head of sales. So I had an agreement with my boss and the number 2 in finance that every time I am talking as a sales head, my number 2 will be the CFO. So I will have to talk to that person as a CFO of the organization, and that person had all the right to ask me any question as he or she would ask, head of sales in the normal course. So that's how we can address the, and of course, I had to demonstrate professional integrity in those moments. We used to have some of the biggest fights, professional fights, and with someone who was actually my subordinate, and I respected him for that. And by the way, Amit Jain, Mr. Ram will know, he's still, he moved to the health insurance business recently. And one of the reasons I respected him was he had the courage of conviction to ask a question to his boss because he believed in it. Again, just because, he's your boss doesn't mean that you'll not ask question. So that's how we addressed it.
Thank you, sir. The floor is now open even for the Anantapur campus sisters to ask questions.
Sairam, sir.
Saira.
Yeah. First of all, before moving to the question, I would like to start with a small comment or a compliment rather. Having a little knowledge of insurance that I have studied in my undergraduation, I could relate to the most of the concepts that Sir was talking about, especially the one where Sir said about the strategy wherein Sir emphasized more on the health part of insurance to induce the customers to embrace on-start products like health insurance openly. And in that concept, I could see that it was a win-win situation for both the customers as well as for the company. Because in the back end, if there is more health consciousness in the customers, that would mean that there will be less amount of claims, which would mean that they will have less amount of claims sales, leaving a huge amount of cash disposal at their end. So that was really a very good concept that Sir brought into the company. And now moving into the question, it is in a similar line that the brother asked just now. Sir said that Sir was made the CEO, CFO as well as the head of institutional sales, and Sir decided to go ahead with it. So I would like to know, sir, how often is it right to set foot on two different boats at the same time? Like, wouldn't it demand a trade-off, and wouldn't it lead to dilution of work in the domain where you are good at? So how do we know that yes, this is the right time for me to try this as well, without actually sabotaging the expertise that you have in a particular field?
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, I have an open offer to you whenever, if you ever want to join our business.
Thank you so much, sir, for that.
On your second question, yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, right? Because, and see, the point is experiences. Like every new thing that you try gives you experiences through that exposure. And my manager, my bosses had crafted that role to give me an opportunity to experience the conflicts that a general manager goes through, a CEO goes through in dealing with multiple aspects of the business, because he or she has to make choices which will sometimes be conflicting. I mean, you have, your finance head is saying something, your sales head is saying something, your risk person is saying something. How do you take a decision? So in that case, it was more of a role crafted for me to kind of go through that whole experience, see whether I'm able to deal with that or I'm finding it too intimidating. And therefore, if I'm not liking it, and that's where he said, you may not like it. That's the only thing it can happen. You will not fail. We know that, you've done well. You'll not fail. And I think so that is why it was crafted for me to just gain that experience. And they, and see, as I said, there were enough frameworks put in place from an organization perspective to deal with other potential issues that come up. But for me it was about, because I had done finance for long, I felt that I was doing a reasonably good job as a CFO. Question was, should I remain as CFO of a larger organization, bigger stuff, or do something else? So it was more about experience, just making me realize, because I was going through that conflict in my mind, should I pursue in general management, should I pursue finance as a professional option?
Thank you, sir. So basically, it means that there is no ground rule as to when you will know when to walk forward. So is it like it comes with experience?
Yeah, I mean, see, again, I would say, I mean, we shouldn't be setting too many rules, and I think we should sometimes, as long as we're not doing something stupid, we should jump into issues. I mean, we must know our kind of guardrails on beyond which we'll not go. But otherwise, you have to keep trying. I mean, if you don't try, and some you can try through small pilots, small experiments. In some cases, you just have to take a leap of faith and jump into it. Especially when you have people around you who are saying, "I'm there," or "We are there to kind of help you and you in this journey."
Thank you so much, sir. That explains a lot.
Thank you.
So I just want to add something because I observed Mayank Batwal working with us actually as a founding member of Birla Sun Life Insurance Company. We had a very good boss, excellent boss, Vijay Singh, amazing personality. So all those who actually got trained under him, actually they became CEOs. At least 5 of them I know. Currently they are actually running with that. Particularly with Mayank, he appears actually like, first he takes time, understands. Then when it gets to the execution, he goes very, very fast. But the initial part of it, you see, very balanced, the whole thing. It's not like aggressively he's jumping. But if you look at the numbers of Aditya Birla, they're amazing. They're actually one of the top health insurance standalone companies in the India. And also the way it gets executed is actually very silent but powerful. So that is one of the compliments actually, like what I have seen Mayank 20 years back, and then afterwards was observing when I met actually someone in US consulate, they referred Mayank. Then I told him for what they referred Mayank. He was actually doing some social welfare activities through the company. That's how actually the US consulate, the US aid person was actually referring. So if you see the person, no, it's very difficult unless actually you go deeper and then find way actually how it is actually working. So amazing personality from that point of view. So the aggressiveness is actually in the action, not on the physical outside of the person. That's a amazing thing I found actually from Mayank. Okay, thank you, Mayank.
Thank you,
Very
Sai.
good.
Thank you.
Okay. Mayank, so over this career, which you've done very, very well, congratulations. There could have been points where things didn't go your way. There were frustrations. There were twists that came out of the blue that might have been completely against what you would have liked. And when you look back at those events, do you think they were actually good for you in your journey and you thought it was not good at that point, and then when you look at the journey, it all seems like a great thing that actually happened?
Yeah, I think Jitendra, if anyone says that everything has been like, like this in life, I think that person is not really telling you the truth. Life is never a linear curve, right? I mean, everything in life is like markets are roller, there'll be a troughs and I mean, life is like that, and I think that is the fun of and many of you will realize that as you jump into the practical aspects. But I've had more than my share of learnings, some very tough learnings on way. As I was telling you, when we started the health insurance business, because we were doing something very different, the entire market was refusing to accept our model, because our model is highly intermediate. Distribution is a very distribution driven market. I mean, it's you don't go direct because consumers don't buy our product directly. They need advice from distribution. And they said you're adding one more level of offerings, benefit, features. I don't know to explain this to the customer. Who will handle it and all? They were refusing to accept it. And they were saying offer the same stuff that market is offering. First 6-7 months were extremely tough, and we were wondering, are we doing the right stuff? Because the market is there. I mean, we are part of a group where the two shareholders are asking questions, as I said, and we used to have constant conversations within the team. Are we doing the right stuff? Because, by the way, it's very important that you don't get too wedded to your idea. It's very important that you don't get too emotionally attached to that. We had to look at that also, because sometimes when we believe in something and we get too emotionally attached and not willing to kind of let go, that can be very, very troublesome. Sometimes you have to cut the cord and say, no, this is not right, maybe you have to move on. So in my mind, and some of my senior colleagues were saying, it seems like market is saying, I think we must move on. In my mind, there was this conflict. Am I getting too emotionally attached to this whole thing versus will I end up giving up too fast on it also? And it's the answer lied in going back to the basics, going back to the root, going back to what was the genesis of the way we decided. So we went back to consumers, we went back, asked the question again, are we doing the right stuff for you? The answer was yes. So maybe we needed a little bit of change in the way we are doing it. So that's one example. 6-7 months later, we launched another version of our offering, which complemented the first one. And then it just changed everything. And also the market then realized these guys are, they will not, in Hindi we say this dheet, I don't know English, what's the, they are rigid, they are too stubborn, they will not change. And they realize that I can't stay away from a brand like Birla, because you have to. So then they started gradually accepting it, and we found our own ways to workarounds. But the important thing was conviction, that what you're doing, is it fundamentally right? And then, but at the same time, be very careful that you don't get emotionally wedded to that, because you find so many leaders failing because they can't change, because they're so close to that whole thing, that they just can't let it go. And as they say yesterday, that we were just discussing, by the way, over the weekend, that in life, we say the Trinity, right? Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. So Brahma creates, Vishnu nurtures it, and this, Shiva actually destroys. You must have the ability to destroy also what you've created to do the next creation. So I think, I mean, that is something that we always as leaders have to, watch out for.
I think you should also talk to them about regulatory
Yeah, I mean, regulatorily, we are a highly regulated business, right? I mean, all the time there are, you're doing something, regulation will come and make some changes. For example, right now they're saying we'll have 100 more health insurance companies or whatever insurance companies in India. We want, so in our business that is happening all the time. In my life business, when we were there, so there was a war between SEBI, the mutual fund regulator, and IRDA, the insurance regulator, and that war actually ended up completely changing the face of the life insurance business, and it was nightmare because and we made a mistake there. Why? What happened was that we made a mistake because we got wedded to a particular strategy there, and we did not we were too concentrated, and we were one of the worst hit because got emotionally attached to the whole idea of. And it was that one realization that and sometimes it's like you in investment you'll not put everything in one, you will kind of spread it over a few. I'm sure all of you have learned, right? You can't put all bets in one basket. So that's what happened to us in that. We were too one product focused, and that learning state. I mean, so when we are building the business, we made sure that we don't do that mistake. And it's by the way, there are many aspects to it. How do you hire people? What kind of people you hire? What kind of people, diversity, inclusion, all of that becomes very important. People from different life experiences, not people whom you like and whom you like to work with. All of that, are leadership quality. Some leaders are very, very happy with just working with people whom they have worked. So they move to another organization, then move with the whole gang. You'll find some leaders who will move and they'll create a whole new team. Of course, they may have a few people from it. It's about ability to nurture and create something new, and not just being. So it's about being comfortable with differences of opinion. I mean, one of the biggest quality of a stealth leader is that that person should be very, very comfortable with differences of opinion, differences of perspectives. Otherwise, how will you work?
Thank you, sir. For want of time, we'll just take one last question from the Anantapur campus.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam.
Actually, today I feel so fortunate to have this opportunity because it's such a rare chance for a consumer perspective to directly talk about their service to a CEO. So, because my family had been Aditya Birla's health insurance since for 4 years, so I like three things from the Aditya Birla health insurance, which I would like to tell you personally. The first thing I liked is the network of hospitals that you have, even in tier 2, tier 3 cities. I still remember 4 years back when I came back from college, my mom told me that I changed my health insurance to Aditya Birla. And I asked, why did you change? Because it's such a health insurance. Maybe they might not have all kind of hospitals into it. Only the branded hospitals will be into their network. But when I saw the list, I was really surprised because almost all the good hospitals of our place was into it. And the second thing is that the mail. Every frequently, Aditya Birla will send us a mail regarding some topic. Sometimes it will be like healthy heart, and sometimes it will be like balanced diet, something with some theme. So every time the mail comes, I'll be alerted that yes, as sir told in the speech, health is the biggest asset. So every time I'll be alerted, yes, we have to take care of our health. And the third thing is that as the years pass by, the health insurance amount also will be go on increasing. So the way you connect with NBFCs and to make easier for the consumer through EMI schemes, that is one of the things that I like most in your services. So today I thought that directly this consumer to CEO chance, I thought I should cherish it and personally tell this. Thanks.
Thank you. It's always so good to hear directly from a customer, and I'll take this feedback to my team, who will be very happy to know this coming from someone in an institute of this stature. So thank you so much for those kind words. Yeah, and we have a member of our board, so he's hearing it directly. So I will request him to share this with our other directors also. Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure for me.
Thank you, sir, for your really inspiring and insightful talk. As sir was speaking, I could draw several parallels to what Swami used to say. When sir talked about how he achieved his 5th rank across India, I'm reminded of the term that Swami frequently uses, Druda Nishchayaha, which means steely determination to achieve the goal. And sir also reinforced the same by saying that if we set our mind on something with a steely determination, we can achieve it. And sir also spoke about the nature of the world that we live in. We live in abundance, and it's only our creativity which either limits us or drives us forward. And it is also wonderful to hear sir talk about shifting the focus of the company from product to consumer. And it was also wonderful that the sister who shared the experience that she had with the organization, we could clearly see how a leader's focus, shift in leader's focus translates to, superior customer experience and drives value to the organization. So we're indeed fortunate, sir, to have heard from you on leadership, and might not be stealth leadership, but what I could see was selfless leadership. And I could see, the way I perceive sir is like a Zen master, very Zen-like in his talk and composure. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I now invite our dear Vice Chancellor, sir, to come forward and provide a token of love to Mayank, sir, for taking time out of his busy schedule. We are indeed fortunate because we have a very distinguished line of speakers. The next speaker for today is Sri Vinay Tonse, MD and CEO, SBI Funds Management Private Limited and Deputy Managing Director, SBI. Sir will be addressing us all on the topic leadership. A few thoughts. Sir is, as I mentioned, Deputy Managing Director of State Bank of India, and is currently on deputation to SBI Funds Management Limited since June 22nd, 2020. Sir was appointed as Managing Director and CEO of SBI Funds Management Limited since August 24, 2020, but has been associated with SBI Mutual Fund since 2013. Sir started his career with SBI in 1988 as a probationary officer. He has worked in several geographical locations in India and abroad, heading various business functions. Sir has excellent experience of handling and managing various areas of banking such as operations, retail banking, including agricultural credit and MSME sectors. Before his deputation to SBI Funds Management Limited, Sir was heading the Chennai Circle of SBI as Chief General Manager from June 2018 to June 2020. He had an overall responsibility of managing all the branches and offices of SBI situated in Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. And Sir has several other key assignments over the last 10 years in SBI, like General Manager, Corporate Accounts Group, Deputy General Manager, Equity and Commodities, Chief Executive Officer, Osaka Branch, Japan. Without further ado, I would like to invite Sri Vinay Tonse to address us all on the topic leadership.
See if we can manage with that. The ubiquitous iPad. I use it only of late, otherwise I am a physical notebook guy. Respected Ratnakar, who has had to leave, the Managing Trustee. Respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Sanjeevi, the
Controller of Examinations, the Professor Sani, the Director Raju Garu, and also the Registrar Professor Sai Giridhar, and all the dignitaries who have gathered here, Mr. Ram, Mr. Punjabi, Mr. Ram Gopal, Anand, Professor Sai Manohar, the HODs and all the faculty members here, Mr. Bharat, and all my young leader friends sitting here today, as well as who have joined us. Hi. I'm going to make this interactive right from the beginning. Professor Sai, how much time do I have? Do I have 2 hours? Yes. No, this is just to wake them up, don't worry. 2 hours, they would be shocked. And of course, we also have Mr. Murli, the Chief Peer Officer. Pleasure having you here, sir. Very senior, distinguished person. Next time, I'll be very careful before accepting any speaking engagement amongst professors. They do not leave me with any points to speak. Particularly as I was seeing Dr. Sanjeev and Professor Sai Giridhar speak, all whatever I had made out in my PowerPoint, one by one I was ticking off. So today, now I have junked my PowerPoint. I speak from what Shri Ratnakar was talking about, my notes, which I have made in the last, say, maybe 20-25 years, which are whatever was available here, retrieval. That's what I am going to do. But that's actually what Shri Ratnakar was talking about, was humility, learning experience. Even today, if he has this habit of making notes, I mean, there is nothing like it. There is no such. Is there any point where I say that, okay, today I'm perfect, today I have reached, I'm done, no more learning? No way. I think that is what matters to us. And if all of you are taking down some of these notes, because what happens is at the time I listen to a new concept or stuff or an idea which you feel that you can put to use sometime later, on that day I may feel that, yaar, sabhi yaad rahega, but then I think somewhere that overcrowding happens. So what I would suggest is just make a small note somewhere and then bring it up, mull over it. So all I'm going to give you are, today some points which you can think of later. Somewhere or the other, debating also. First of all, I must thank all of you for getting me here. It's a matter of pride and privilege for me to be here at Prasanthi Nilayam. It happens to be my first visit. I do not know how, but it happens to be my first visit. As I was discussing with Mr. Ram the other day, maybe there was no Bulawa till now. And this Bulawa also, I'm afraid it is for a very short while. And I would come again here, and I would love to spend a few more days sometime, be going to the mandir or doing my meditation. And for me, my meditation is reading management books. Be it Fred Luthans, you heard all these names? Philip Kotler, yeah? Professor Ashwatthappa, heard? Professor P.N. Reddy, heard? Principles of Management. Why I speak about these last two is because they were my professors. They were my professors when I was studying in the Bangalore University, Professor Ashwatthappa and P.N. Reddy. So this is my meditation. So someday quietly I'll come here, take up one of the rooms in the guest house and then, read up on management, which otherwise I do not get time. Let me first do my duty and pay my pranams to all the faculty members who are here. The Vice Chancellor and the rest of you, you are doing a great job. This is one of the best today. And in fact, I would love that always the best in class should return as professors. That is when the learning perpetuates. And I see that happening here. And some of the distinguished alumni who are here, And this is something amazing. I love this institute for that. It brings you back. And that's something amazing, and my hats off to all of you who are here. Faculty members, you have a huge responsibility on your shoulders today because the world is becoming a very, very, very complex thing, right? The learnings that have to be instilled are numerous, complicated. Today, on one hand, we say that there is a lot of machine learning that happens, artificial intelligence. So maybe there is a fear in some of our, of our generation, our minds that, one day we will not need leaders anymore. The decisions will be taken by them, the machines. But then, decision making and decision taking does involve an angle of, here now I start making it interactive. You are the guys who are going to tell me, you are the management students. Decision making and decision taking does involve an angle of, rationality, then humanitarianism, okay, power of making a differentiation, having a differentiation between different things. You need, apart from just logic, you also need emotions, right? Then empathy, wonderful. Anantapur, Professor Sai, the moment you feel that, the last 5 minutes you can just ring the bell, I will close then. Otherwise, I'll go on till I won't mind. You just
Sir.
You know what the right brain and left brains are for?
Experience, sir.
Experience, yes. Experience, emotions. What are the left and right brains for? Left is for logic and right is for whatever other than logic. Emotions, all those things come there, right? Empathy, emotions, everything comes there. Logic this side, left side. So till the day these two merge, I think faculty has a job to instill learnings, and the management students have a job of learning the best decision making. I differentiate between making and taking. Maybe we'll get into that another day. Thank you very much for that, and this development is in the hands of the faculty. Now I go to this topic of the day, the stealth leadership part. In fact, right on day one when I heard about this some days back, and when I had a discussion with Professor Sai, that I will take it as invisible leadership. I would love to call it as invisible leadership. And friends, my young leader friends, you don't have to look far for examples of this. You have right here. Bhagavan has been a huge example of this, as I have understood. You have these professors here who have been a wonderful example, who are a wonderful example of invisible leadership. They are slowly nudging you towards the best goals. Whoever spoke here before me today, they are wonderful examples. You don't have to look far. So I'll stick to this invisible leader, okay? Fine. Because stealth leadership also is a concept that is coming in, and I must compliment this particular event organizers for bringing this up for debate today. Bringing this up for discussion today. Because no one even talks about this. It is taken as a weakness. If I am not seen as a visible leader, it's taken as a weakness. One of my previous speakers was mentioning that. Being an invisible leader needs guts. Invisible leadership is about giving all the credits out, sharing the credits and taking the debits. Anyone will in the right mind do this? But I think that is the right mind we have to develop. All credit yours, all debits mine. Happens? Actually happens. It's not about we say that, okay, someone is a passionate leader, someone who comes on the stage and dances. You know whom I'm talking about, we have many examples of those. Every quarterly result, you, ha, who, and all those things. No need. Passion is not seen only by dancing on the stage. Right? Passion is seen in your work by your people. I think somewhere in the morning there was a mention of MBA was brought out here as triple M. 3M, Master of Man Management. I think that man management is something very critical for us if we want to develop ourselves as invisible leaders, the stealth leaders. Give out everything to the others. I'll come to that Lao Tzu's definition a little later. Dr. Sanjeev, you mentioned that. I'll come to that a little later. Now the selfless part, let me look at it from two angles. One is the selfless as in the opposite of selfish. Right? Another is separate these two words and see. The selfless. Take out yourself out of this. I think that is again a beautiful differentiation we can make between these two meanings that come out. The self gets suppressed. The ego gets suppressed. Again, a question. Is ego bad? No? Ego is good? Ego is bad or good? Too much is bad, huh? Balanced. Huh? It's good. But it can affect me also, no? I can go crazy. Right? Now, actually, ego is good as far as that self-respect is needed. Right? Not having an ego should not lead me to a place where I have no self-respect, you get what I'm saying, right? But too much of ego in the sense that I'm the only guy around who knows things. I'm the only intelligent person around. All others are fools. Maybe he will not say that, but man mein to rehta hai ki yaar, I'm the only guy around. I just tolerate them. Why I'm saying all this is I have seen leaders like this. But I think that is what eventually matters. Ego is good, but only to a certain level that you are not taken as a weakling. I again go back to this triple M, 3M. What is 3M, by the way? Management students, young leaders. What is that 3M? Have you heard of 3M? This is Master of Man Management. There is a 3M company, right? Largest adhesive. What is 3M? What does that name stand for? Our generation might be knowing, sir. I want them to know. Because this is a beautiful, you must read this up. Today you have the Google which can throw you anything. 3M, Minnesota, mining and minerals. The innovation this company is known for is something amazing. Please go through that. By the end of my speech, I'll be giving you at least 10 projects, homework. Okay. Now I'm going back to our 3M, Master of Man Management. I think essentially we should look at the theories of motivation. Today, as I recall, I was talking about my retrieval. We have Maslow, remember? We have Abraham Maslow and we have Douglas MacGregor, right? I go to MacGregor. Theory X, theory Y, right? So what was X and Y? What was the differentiation? I think I will get this from Anantapur. X and Y, Douglas MacGregor. Yeah, anyone? Oh, they are discussing there. Which is X, which is Y? Yes, please, quick. Before Professor Sai Manohar goes with the bell. Yeah, Sai Ram.
Sir, in my knowledge, Theory X managers tend to get motivated by force, coercion, and possibly negative motives. And theory Y managers are more positively inclined and they need reinforcement.
Fine. In simple words, it means theory X manager believes that people are lazy. They need to be goaded. They need to be, Theory Y says people are good. They are self-motivated. They get inspired from within. As simple as that. So what do you think an invisible leader is doing? Is he a believer of X or Y? Naturally, right? So this is something which you need to have in mind always. Mull over this. Note it down. What does this say? This has a lot of relationship with what we call as theory Y. There is also a theory Z, not for today, another day. And also the need hierarchy theory of Abraham Maslow. Motivation. If we can understand these aspects, I think we are done with the 3M, Master of Man Management. If you can recognize, we were talking about empathy here. If you can empathize with that person, not sympathy, empathy, right? Empathize with that person. At what level is he at? What would motivate him? Eventually, we talk about something called a self-realization, which is, I think, whoever is associated with this institution has that. Most of you are at this level. Look at it. When we were actually studying this, we thought that no one will ever reach that stage. But today I have seen people who reach that stage, who have done everything, but then now they look at that, self-realization. What will motivate me once I have everything? First, okay, bread and butter, then a roof on the head, and then the societal, whatever comes as those 5 pyramidical levels. Self-realization. After everything is done, what next? That's the self-realization. The professors you see here today are at that level, I would say. That's what I was saying. The institute brings back people. That's why again and again I say that you guys are doing a great job. Before moving into this invisible leadership, let us see what are some of the basic principles, just recounting, right? Who makes a good leader? You guys have to tell me. I don't know. Who's a good leader? आप बताइए, nothing right or wrong? Tries to develop the subordinates quick, fast. Individual interest to common interest, beautiful. Consensus to the team, okay. Yeah, one who? The one who shows direction. One who shows direction, yeah. Anandpur?
Sir, the one who takes the team with him.
One who takes the team with him. Okay, fine. So that is good leadership. Huh? Some of these points are very valid. Now I move to the next question. What are the qualities that are required of a good leader? Good communication, empathy. What next? Confidence, team spirit, coordination, humility, knowledge, ever learning. Yeah, okay. Wonderful. Okay. Now, one thing. Is anyone noting down all this? Because the next question I am going to ask you is, how many of these are within us? I am sure all of these qualities are within us. But my job today, as I step out into the world, as a management graduate and as a young leader, is to see what can I improve upon. Can I improve upon this or can I improve upon that? How good am I at communicating? How good am I at decision making? Now, okay, I'll give you 2 points covered. What is good leadership? What are the qualities required? I have also given you a homework, right? Now the next point is I'll come to my own definition of who is a good leader. Very simple. One who has a vision and who has the capabilities to transform this vision into reality. Simple. So now you know, and for that second aspect, you need all these qualities of good communication, team spirit, bringing people together. One is the vision for the company, whatever you would want. That also doesn't come easy. Being a visionary is not very easy. You have to read a lot, you have to think a lot, you have to have the big picture. You need to know what is the purpose of your company. Not just what is enshrined in your vision, mission, values, but beyond that. So these are some of the aspects. Now actually being an invisible leader needs more than what are these qualities. It is invisible leadership is leadership plus. Right? Now after all this, possessing all these qualities, you also need to possess a few more things like keeping the ego away, sharing the credit. It's not easy. It doesn't come easy. Sharing the credits, taking all the debits. Yes, I'm responsible. It's very easy to say that, that's where it happened. It was a clerical error. It was this, it was that. No way. I'm here. I'm the front line for you. Credits them. One question that keeps coming to me from some of my youngsters is, should I bother about all this today? This picking up learning skills and all that. Okay, and another very classic question, is a leader born or made? If you say born, no, I'm going to walk out, enough. Either we have it or don't have it, right? Made? So all these things come. Now relate this to the next question which I had. What is the question? Is it too early to start? Isn't it too early to start? There's enough time. I'll start working only after 2 years. So what is your answer for this? Never too late. Now I have a story here. Very simple story which actually came out of a movie, some Malayalam movie last week I was watching through subtitles. I don't understand the language. Right? It was like, there's a guy who has a lot of penance, very severe penance, standing on one leg, all the prayers, all that happened. Finally, God was very happy with him. He appeared. Said, what is it you want? He says, I want to be a king. So God was already pleased with his penance. And he said, okay, done, finish. Now, after a few days, he realized, he was made the king. He became the king. He realized that he was a very poor king, in the sense, not wealth-wise. He had only asked for becoming a king. He never asked for for God to make him a good king. So he was lacking all the abilities that are needed of a good king. Like providing security, good administration, right? War strategy, all those things come. Then now he has to start learning. He had good ministers, he started learning. Life went fine in that kingdom. The king was later, after a couple of years, he was a very good king, right? Now, suppose suddenly one day, we are thrust upon a role like this. Do I have the time to start developing at that time? This is where the point comes. It is never too late. You are very right. Start right today. Think about all these things. And if not management students, who else? Right? Now, another story. Not a story, just a sort of a quote which I remember. Mind you, many of these points I jotted just now when retrieval, archival. Sare Jahan se acha, all of you would have sung last week or heard at least. Who had written this? Tagore or who else? Who? Sir, उधर से भी आने दीजिए आंसर. बंकिम चंद्र चैटर्जी, रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर और बता दे जाओ. प्रोफेसर ने बोला आपने सुना नहीं, फॉर्चुनेटली बताते जाओ. Allama Iqbal, have you heard? Who later went to Pakistan and became national poet there. इन्होंने अवरेज चीज कही थी. I mean, he was a poet. He said this, just listen to this. This for me is a beautiful definition of leadership. Right? He said, Nigah Buland, right? Sukhan Dil Nawaz, Jaan Pursos. I'll repeat this again. Nigah Buland, lofty vision, strong vision, right? Sukhan Dil Nawaz is words that touch the heart, right? And Jaan Pursos, that is passion. He says, Yahi hai rakte safar mere karwan ke liye. What does this mean? These are, mere karwan is the leader of a caravan. Imagine in the desert, lots of camels are migrating from, the people are migrating along with the camels. He is the head of the caravan, right? Imagine that happening. So they don't know where they're going. They are going a distance. Now all he needs to take his flock patiently are these three qualities. And these are what a leader needs. Lofty vision, words that touch the heart. Someone's talking about bringing in consensus, bringing in, passion, belongingness, all this. Finally, passion. I actually love this quote. I tell all my youngsters, somewhere I was reading about the underlying philosophy of this institute, as quoted by Bhagavan. The SAI institutions have been established not merely to enable students to earn a living, but to make them acquire good traits, lead ideal lives, and give them ethical, moral, and spiritual strength. They will learn here humility, discipline, and faith. Look at all this invisible leadership. Now, I want to dwell a minute upon ethical leadership. Now, if I ask you about the corporates in India, if I ask you, whom do you think are the most ethical among the corporates? What names come to your mind? Sure, huh? Unanimous. Tatas? Then? Stop. No, we have Mahindras. Okay. We can go on. But the answer I was looking for was Tatas. So I won't ask anymore. Now, Tatas, Jamshedji. I love the group. One of my professors during my post-graduation had asked me those days to read a book called as Creation of Wealth by R.M. Lala. In case any of you have not read, I suggest this. R.M. Lala, The Creation of Wealth. This wealth is not that wealth what we talk about. That bad wealth, no. This is wealth for the nation. It talks about how Jamshedji had built the group. This must be mandatory reading for you at least once. It hardly takes 2-3 days. Your free time of 2-3 days. Right? Just go through this once. Then you realize that whatever we talk about today as ethical leadership, today we talk about ESG. This old man, grand old man was talking about in 1870s. Whatever he did in that Empress Mills at Nagpur, bringing in time for a person to work, for a factory worker, time, there was no time till then. Now whatever 12 hours or something, he established creches for the women. I'm talking about 1870s, mind you. Jamshedji. He built Jamshedpur. Even today, if you want to establish another Jamshedpur, may not be possible. Those days, remember 1904, he died. Incidentally, that was also the year in which JRD took birth. Jamshedji moved on, JRD came in. Same year, 1904. 1907 or 8 was when the steel plant started. He could not see it. Please read this book. You will see what ethical leadership is all about. And today also it continues in the group. Now another angle of invisible leadership. We traditionally talk about 3 P's in any organization. What are the 3 P's? 3P. People, planet, profit. Okay. Some other 3 P's? I'm not getting my 3 P's. Marketing also you have P's, no? 4 P's. Product, place, promotion. I'm trying to recall my old studies. My brains are, creaking. Product, promotion, place, whatever. But the main 3 P's in any organization which are looked at is the processes, the products, and the people. Now for me, for invisible leadership, that last 3rd P of people is very critical. You know why? Whatever products I have can be replicated tomorrow. Right? Whatever process I have built with difficulty also can be replicated. But my people cannot be replicated. So have faith. Theory X. Give them all the credit. Motivate them. Bring in belongingness. I think that is that P part which cannot be replicated in any company, whatever they do, right? And it gives immense satisfaction to whoever is working with you. I give you an example of just what I saw yesterday. You have to tell me what is the learning, right? And then I will tell you. I was in a very good hotel in Singapore day before yesterday and yesterday, okay? Day before yesterday at 11 when I was walking out of the room, I was having meetings there. I was on and off coming to my room and going back whenever I had time. Walking on the corridors, you would have seen in hotels, someone leaves a tray outside of food after having their food. A tray is left outside, right? A tray which had some leftover French fries, tomato sauce, ketchup, all those things lying there. 11 a.m. day before yesterday. I come back after lunch, just came to the room for a change. 2 p.m. 5 p.m. when I come, after my investor meetings, tray is still there. 9 p.m. when I'm going out for dinner, still there. 11 p.m. still there. Yesterday morning, still there. 11 a.m. when I checked out at 2 p.m., the tray is still there. The same French fries. The same tomato ketchup. What is happening here? And mind you, there are at least hourly visits of people who go around cleaning the towels, cleaning the rooms and all that. What was happening? Simple, you tell me. You have to tell me. Responsibility and not my job. Ownership. So what are the learnings here? How do I bring out that ownership amongst my people? Invisible leadership. I'll give you another story, you give me the learnings. Okay? This was just yesterday. Now I go back directly to the 16th century. Hampi. Heard of Hampi? Yeah? There's a temple called as, how many of you visited by any chance? Your youngsters, many would not have. The seniors should have. In case you haven't, please go. There's a beautiful temple called as Vijay Vittala, now in ruins of course. Yeah, Vijay Vittala temple. Built by one Devaraya. Right? After that, this is not the Krishna Devaraya. The most famous was the Krishna Devaraya. Right? He came later, early 16th century, he was making some repairs to, not repairs actually, expanding what was there. Vijay Vittala temple. Now, he had this habit of going around. Someone was talking about management by going around. Whose was that? In the morning? Professor was talking about management by going around, wandering around or something, right? Now this temple, the king had the habit of going around in disguise and trying to find out what is wrong in his kingdom, what could be done. Invisible leadership again, right? So he finds one hot, Hampi is hot, right? Some are rocks all around. He finds 3 sculptors there. So he tries to go there and ask him, what are you guys doing? So one fellow simply shoos him off. A beggar coming, and the second guy says, I'm breaking stones, can't you see? Breaking stones. The third guy says, are you a fool? Are you not aware what Krishna Deva Raya is doing? He is building this Bhavya Mandir, temple. And I am helping him build that. So the question is, definitely if I ask you, what would I like to be the third man, yeah? What is the learning here? The larger purpose, and that he is involved in it. This is what I was talking about, the ownership part. How do I as a leader bring out that ownership, that involvement? It comes only when I empower. Now I'm using a new word, empower. Give them power. Have faith first. Theory why? Have faith. I am not the only intelligent guy around, please mind you. Every single person has that much of capabilities. A good leader's job is to bring out the best in them, right? This comes from all those. That's why I'm telling you, mull over this, read a lot, think a lot, so that one fine day in the next couple of years, when you take up an assignment somewhere, then you're ready with all these things, right? That point which was made about management by wandering around was, I'm just throwing some principles at you. Genchi Genbutsu, the Japanese version of, go to the site and find out what is the problem. And the Toyota way, have you heard of the Toyota way? All of you read? Another project for you. 2 main things that come out of here is, one is about Kaizen. Heard of Kaizen? Kaizen is continuous improvement, innovation, related back to 3M I was talking about, right? Second main pillar of the Toyota way is people. Read up about this whenever. I think slowly I come to the conclusion. Friends, I talk about now 3 mantras that I have lived by. If you feel it makes sense, mull over these things. One is be responsible, the responsibility part, the ownership part. Doesn't matter whose job is it, not my job. Remember this hotel in Singapore, particularly in a country which is known for its service, particularly a country which is known for the best of hotels. And I was staying in the Fullerton Hotel, which is known for its service, and this happens. And it would have been a minute for me to go and tell them that please get it cleared. I did not. I wanted to see how long this will last, so that I could quote it as an example here. So that responsibility for, let me do it, no? Doesn't matter. It's eventually going to hit the reputation of my company. Let me do it. Fine, I'll do it. Doesn't matter. Now the second, what I have been doing all along is being different. One is take up responsibility. Being different makes a lot of difference. You remember the Robert Frost poem here? बता सकते हैं?
The road not taken.
Yeah, Road Not Taken Fine by Robert Frost. What were the lines? Beautiful. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Be different is. Take a run of the mill is fine. Let me make a bit of difference. Then the third is make a difference. Three mantras I was talking about: responsibility. One is be different, and third is making a difference. Making a difference to whom? Making a difference to? Difference to? My team, my clients, my company, myself, eventually the community, the society. I think we can make a difference. Every morning I tell my team normally in the morning, you wake up thinking, what can I do today to make a difference? Even if 10 out of 100 do it, I am happy. The other 10 will follow, right? Now this Dr. Sanjeev is Lao Tzu saying, at the cost of repetition, it's worthwhile for the young leaders here to remember, particularly about invisible leadership. A leader is best when people barely know he exists. This was written in 5th century BC. A leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done and his aim fulfilled, they will all say, the team will say that we did it ourselves. What a beautiful concept. So thank you very much, friends. I think this was a beautiful learning for me. None of the points, I think I gave you very few. Most of them came from you. So you can say we did it ourselves. This was an example of invisible leadership. काफी पॉइंट आपने ही दिया ना, मैंने थोड़ी बताया. अन्नी मेरे इच्छा కదా. How many of them know Telugu here? అవునా లేదా? Good. Thank you very much. May the choicest blessings of Bhagavan be with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your inspiring, insightful talk laced with a generous dose of humor, which I'm sure would have helped all our students understand various practical aspects of leadership. Sir, kind of renamed the entire conference. He says that it's not stealth leadership, he calls it as invisible leadership. Sir also spoke about how we should have a continuous thirst for knowledge, we should always be humble. Sir also gave us a kind of a reading list. He asked us to read about Creation of Wealth by R.M. Lala. And Sir also spoke about the 3 mantras of his life that he lives by. One is to be responsible, to be different, and to make a difference. Sir's charismatic presence itself was a kind of a learning experience for me, and I'm sure you would have all been inspired by it. Thank you very much, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule to address all of us. And we hope and pray that you continue to visit Prasanthi Nilayam. I'm sure our students will benefit with continued interactions with you. Thank you, sir. I now invite our respected registrar, sir, to kindly come forward and give away our token of love to sir. Sairam brothers, I am sure your hearts will be full, but your stomachs are hungry. So we will now break for lunch. We'll all assemble back here at 2:30. Thank you. Sairam.